Hello everyone and welcome to another game of Rewriters of History, and this time I checked. I know that it's session 19. It's going to be episode 19, so we're back to knowing which episode this is. Okay, today we're it's going to be the first time I'm saying this, but today we're finishing Caesar's Months. Yeah, so you remember where your characters were?
Oh, I didn't know you had a meeting today because yesterday you said you had 2 days off.
Sorry about this. You guys remember where?
I believe we were just deciding what to do. We just subdued the person in the submarine, and we were kind of standing around wondering what the best course of action to take now was. That we'd dealt with all the archons or divas, and we basically just had to kill a guy so that the diva could possess him, or potentially potentially kill Vercingetorix, or find some other way to deal with him to end the verse.
All right. So one of the things you that I didn't remember that your characters haven't experienced yet, it's what happens if what happens if somebody dies while they're rewriting. While the person rewriting the verse, it's you. In theory, the verse could very well keep going or just end right there, because the titular character, the central figure, dying would mean that it's the end of their story. So killing Vercingetorix is, in theory, a way to end the verse and to come back to your bodies. And currently you are in the enemy space, and you have 2.5 allies that you've just recruited, who can help you reach your goals. So it's you're in the submarine outside this fire. The gold that had noticed you were convinced to just leave you alone, that there was no problem, your disguises being very good. So yeah, what do you do?
I guess we have to decide if we want to go the route of killing Vercingetorix, or if we can try to find a less violent solution.
There's always the solution of killing Caesar.
I mean, yes.
I mean, you're not incorrect.
That could have some problems.
That is certainly an idea.
Yeah. Is it worth considering? Anyways, yeah. So I guess it's probably going to be one of those moments where everybody turns to Philip, because you are the one whose choices matter in redefining this part of history.
Okay. Not good at making decisions.
Yes, that's why we're making you make a decision.
Right.
Okay.
Well, aren't you the one who made the decision to come here to rewrite Caesar's verse?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a lot of ideas about how it would go, and have been...
Well, let me ask you this, because there was obviously a lot of information I didn't have regarding how this whole thing works, including the fact that we're not actually going back in time here. So why did you want to rewrite Caesar's verse?
There was a specific in-game reason, right? It was like because we knew an Archon was at the base of things.
It's because you knew that if you did things well enough, you could there was in theory a chance that you could rewrite both Caesar and Vercingetorix pairs of verses at the same time, meaning that you'd have that it was a sort of a 2-for-1 sort of mission.
Okay.
Yeah, but it does also it did turn out to be that it was like a mission that could yield great rewards, but it turned out that it also had great risk because of how you got attacked.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if it were a regular verse like the ones we've done before, it wouldn't have been a problem. But we came in here not knowing that there would be other people waiting to ambush us, and that's where things went topsy-turvy.
Yeah, especially since those people turned out to also be getting past your main line of defense in a real world, which was the fact that nobody knew who you were. So, like, it's double dangerous. Anyways.
So what's the great reward we're talking about that was to be gained by going in here?
Saving humanity.
Rewriting. I believe that's been explained to your character in the past, but it's been a few sessions. Rewriting the verses, basically like at the end times, the gods are going to decide whether humanity was good or not based on their recording system, the Great Book, which is where you're currently in. Which means you'll come and see all of the verses as they were recorded, and you're changing those events to try to get more stars in the sky to try to make humanity look better for the final judgment. So if you could do like multiple groups of people at once, you could have in theory like you'd be saving time.
Right, I remember that part. I'm just wondering what the great reward of this specific thing is.
Oh, doing 2 verses for the price of 1. Because Vercingetorix and Caesar's verses, they were 2 archons whose lives were close enough that their verses connected, and they're the same, basically the same story. You could rewrite both of them at the same time if you managed to find a way to make Vercingetorix act in a good way, in a way that's changed history for the better, for a more positive outcome. But since currently he's under control by somebody else, that seems difficult. Not necessarily impossible, but difficult.
Have any of us heard of a way to expel someone from a verse without killing them?
Not that I can think of, but then again, as previously established, I have shitty memory.
I don't believe that's been... I don't believe that anything has been established to be able to do that yet. But anybody who has the tag, who has the domain alchemy or astronomy or something along those lines, or the skill astrology can roll either astrology or I'm going to say science. If you have the domain.
Alrighty.
So what was the plan that before you came, what was the plan? What were you going to do when you got here? How were you going to, like, what were you considering to be the biggest issue with the way things happened that you were trying to change. Do you remember what that was?
The civilians.
Not you.
Okay.
No, not you.
Yeah.
I remember.
Okay.
I remember we had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to walk. I'm trying to walk us right back through. You know.
Okay. Is anybody going to make the science or astrology check? I believe that's more Stefan's domain, but
Yeah.
Yeah, let Stefan make it.
yeah, okay.
All of my stuff is just sort of techie stuff, not sciencey science.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, if we had Pink Floyd here, we could definitely use them for the astronomy domain.
All right. Yeah, Stefan could, in theory, build a telescope that is similar to the one that can project you from that can project your minds into memory palaces. Build it here if he had the time and the resources to do this, and project you back if the verse was going to take some time.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? We got a sub, and in the sub there's a periscope, and that's got a fantastic initial foundation for making a telescope.
You're so right.
You have a what?
We have a submarine, and inside the submarine is a periscope, and a periscope is an excellent foundation for building a telescope.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the what's it called military stuff expertise to you, Chris, because but it can be a good base, but it will need some tinkering by Stefan.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not going to be a telescope right off the bat. It'll need some work, but
Certainly better than starting from scratch.
yeah.
Alright, because I was thinking if we can project Crimson back through the out of the verse, we could wrap this up fairly quickly, as long as it doesn't take us too much time to build the telescope to do so.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the trick, is making sure that won't take longer than it would to do something else otherwise.
Because, yeah, that would avoid us having to kill Vercingetorix, and he's probably going to be more open to negotiation than Crimson is.
Yeah.
Okay. The big problem is that the telescope is within enemy territory. So you'd have to bring Stefan here, and since you've already already invaded the place, it's going to be the security will be reinforced, but it's and there might be some other difficulties, but it is the start of a plan. Yeah. And so, what do your characters do?
I mean, I can sneak up and we can set up the same sort of thing we set up to get Chris in.
All right. Yeah, I'll give you some penalties for entering again with the heightened security, but yes, you could just leave this place and leave Elysia, come back and try to do that again.
So,
yeah.
The reason why the submarine appeared is because that was the memory palace of the guy that we killed there, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's technically still alive. His diva died, and his Archon is still alive, and he is he's currently unconscious. You just choked him until he was unconscious, and right now he's basically in one of the rooms, and Beelzebub left you and is somewhere in the submarine.
Gotcha. And the reason why his memory palace is submarine is because that's what he specifically chose to have his memory palace be, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to now think about why would he have selected having a submarine be his memory palace? Was he perhaps formerly or currently a member of a naval force, a submarine sailor?
Most likely.
I mean, I think anybody who goes into Oliver's verse is like, yes, I know this guy is a hacker now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Tron's pretty
Okay.
blatant like that.
So your archons, your devons, they're there. They have your knowledge, right? I mean, or do they not have your knowledge, or they do have to an extent the knowledge of?
They are
Like-
observers of everything that you do from the moment you finish your work in white or black. And they
Okay.
have their own pools of knowledge and skills that from previous contacts with the physical world.
And can they work their way through the memory palace of that human?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, the knowledge that we're looking for how to get this periscope, which is precisely a pair of telescopes designed to not look straight but at an angle, we would have somebody who would have, if not the direct knowledge, then have the knowledge of where to go to get the knowledge contained within the vessel itself for how to safely remove the periscope. So why don't we do that whole communication with him thing you guys are talking about? You can send dreams to him, right? Somebody can send dreams to him?
Yes, Apollo can send dreams to Beelzebub but so far Caesar's been rejecting the idea of using Beelzebub.
Well, is your objection to using him, or is your objection to helping him get what he wants?
Yeah, when it comes to using him in this way, it would make sense, especially because I see a benefit for us, where before I did not see a benefit for us. It was more of just like us helping him to help for his own good and nothing for us.
Right. So why don't we send a message to Beelzebub to find out where the information is that lies regarding the removal of the periscope, and is said about the removal of the periscope as much as possible, so that when we get there, it will be as least amount of time consuming effort getting the periscope and retrieving it and bringing it back.
I think that's a very steady plan. I like it.
Yeah, that's actually really good. So who do you go look for him throughout the submarine?
Or aren't we
We're sending him a
doing
dream.
it through dreams? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you yeah, because currently you're in the submarine and he's also there. If you want to talk to him,
We're still in the submarine.
I mean, I thought you were either in or just outside of it.
Oh, okay.
Standing around the entrance.
Yeah, that's what Oliver had said when doing the summary of the previous game.
Oh, okay. So we can do that, and then going back to the original question, which was what was the actual plan? You came in here without any idea.
You don't always know exactly the details of the story you're going in, so there's a lot of improvisation into to those things. But yes, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be interrupting.
So we did know that Philip was going into Caesar, right?
Yeah.
And we did know it was going to be at this battle between him and Vercingetorix, right?
Yeah.
And we did know the details of that battle as they were initially laid out according to history, right?
Yep.
So, and we did know that one of the most horrifying atrocities did occur. Certainly one of the darker elements of what did go on was the whole issue with Vercingetorix sending the civilians out, Caesar refusing to allow them to leave, Vercingetorix refusing to allow them to come back in, and causing them to become a casualty in between the two armies.
Yeah.
So one of the things we discussed the last time was that if he doesn't release them, they're going to eat all the food that's in the city, and Caesar successfully starves him out. So he's going to release them or kill them. If he kills them, that's good for Caesar, bad for Vercingetorix, right? But that's good for Caesar, because then Caesar doesn't have to turn them away. If he does release them, Caesar can let them go out of the walls, and because we've already did give the order to begin building those walls. So they can exit the walls, and then both Vercingetorix and Caesar now have removed that huge dark impact to the story that existed initially, maybe sufficient enough to warrant a rewriting of them. Have you thought about what verse you're going to replace it with? Have you thought about it very carefully so that it can do precisely the thing that you would find most advantageous, then written it down and then adjusted and modified it as you thought about it more and more, so that when the time comes to do that, we're not going to stand around and go, oh, I didn't really think about that.
I suggested an idea earlier today. Theo?
Yes.
Oh,
Let me pull it up.
yeah.
Okay.
The idea that
Yeah, we actually worked on that.
Yeah, the idea that he suggested was something along the lines of he accepted he recruited 2 angels to his sides and but rejected the serpent.
I thought it was one that we wrote down, so I was looking for that and
Yeah.
I was like, I can't find it.
Yeah, we didn't write it
Okay.
down. But the idea would be to have a verse that allows somebody to sacrifice a point of darkness karma in exchange for winning 2 points of light karma.
Nice. And now, where and when and how does this verse get changed? I mean, is it afterwards when we come out? Do you
it gets changed at the end, and we talk as a team about like what the most impactful events were. And I thought that the way you had role played last game and convinced 2 divas to help you, but also that Caesar had rejected the influence of Beelzebub could have been a central point. But since you're not done rewriting it, you won't we like
it could be totally different.
Yeah, it could like something else awesome could happen. It could have been something. It could have something to do with Stefan's death and revival, for example. That could also be an action of light that could be significant enough to become the new light verse. But we'll have to. But it's also possible to try to engineer some situations when you're rewriting to create a verse that could do effects that you want to have. But sometimes it's just like up to chance.
And what about Vercingetorix? Do we have a replacement verse for him, assuming this goes perfectly for us?
The players won't be in control of how this one is rewritten, but depending on your actions, it will. I can confirm that it will be rewritten or not.
Yeah, it'll definitely be rewritten. It's just because we won't be Vercingetorix, so we don't get access to that verse for our own personal gain.
Unless if you learn it later down the line.
Yeah.
So ultimately, all of this is really for naught, because changing a verse means that the verse is currently changed, but that can change again when somebody else goes in there and changes it to something else, and so on and so on.
It's the game is somewhat unclear on whether it's possible to go back into a verse that's already been changed or if it's closed off. Apart from the gods being able to do this, the game doesn't specify it, but if it is possible to come back and change it, then it does make your task more complicated. But it's uncertain if that's possible.
Like, very few people can access verses, and the ones that do either don't or do it to bring change.
Yeah.
We're currently dealing with an obstacle that consists of a bunch of jerks that are able to do this and are doing it, and they're doing it for the exact opposite reason that we're trying to do it.
That is a point. So so what you're saying is that the most logical thing to do is to murder all of them, right?
that is the most logical thing to do. It may not be the nicest or most good thing to do, but it would certainly be the most effective method to ensure that they will not be able to affect it in favor of the Archons. And certainly by the choice of their actions thus far, they've demonstrated themselves to lack a certain degree of humanity and compassion for anything other than themselves and what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, they're pretty much demonstrating the reprehensible aspects of humanity. And given what I've learned in the short time that I've learned that things aren't exactly what I had thought they were, I'm beginning to think that maybe I don't really have to worry about facing a judgment day if there's really not a God, and there's actually just 12 of these yahoos who are just completely self-serving and out for themselves and are unworthy of being worshipped, revered, or even really respected, other than for the power that they wield, but certainly not for their divinity or for being better than man.
That's really interesting because the magical path you're taking could lead you to like actually meeting some of them. I'll be right back.
I can't wait.
That'll be an interesting conversation when it comes up.
I've had that conversation already many times. When I'm sitting there by myself on a graveyard shift in my guardhouse and there's nobody around, I have conversations between NPCs and presumed PCs from this and other games that I run, games I play in. And Chris and Aries I've played both sides in the conversation several times.
That's cool.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back. So we managed to capture Vercingetorix, and everybody surrendered, and they all lived, and we praised Caesar, and we got out. So what's next?
Next, you decide what the verse is going to be rewritten into. I think the most action. I think the action of light was how quickly you did this while I was gone, without any input from me.
Well, we're that good. What can I say?
Yeah.
And the verse is going to be basically like, Philip is the man. That's it.
Perfect. I love it. Okay.
All right. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're not going to be able to, I guess the only influence we will have is in how we manipulate him in the resolution of this, and then the verse will somehow adhere to whatever it ends up being that way. So we really need to make sure that Caesar comes out smelling like a rose. And I think, established that ultimately it doesn't matter if I murder face everybody. As long as Caesar doesn't, it's good.
Yep.
Caesar is only judged by Caesar and Caesar alone, not Caesar's the ruler of all, therefore all are under his rule, therefore he's responsible for everything that everybody does. It doesn't work that way, right? So
well, if Caesar does end up giving a command that ends up leading to a lot of darkness, a lot of death or suffering, then Caesar could be
Gotcha.
the verse could be in trouble. But you're independent from. Like it's, I feel like you work as a team of equals, not as one gives the orders. So.
Oh no! I mean, there's our group, and then there's the people who are playing. So, in terms of Caesar and Mark Antony answers to Caesar, who is his king.
Yeah.
So that's how we play that. But because that's the role, and the role will be reversed next time, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And Mark Antony doesn't have any verses, right?
No, he wasn't
Okay, so essentially, I don't have to worry about messing up Mark Antony's verses, as long as Caesar says "be nice" and then Mark Antony says "hell with that," then it's okay. So I think it's important that we not do what I had said initially, which was to have you kill Vercingetorix.
Mm.
But I will, if we decide it needs to be done, I will do that. Um, but I'm very curious. I think the two things are the periscope, which we can start converting to the two periscopes, the two telescopes into periscope, converting it to one larger telescope. But he's going to need whatever supplies, and
Yeah.
so we should look into that.
You are starting to hear grunting and the sound of something being dragged along the metal floors coming from inside of the submarine.
Is that Beelzebub somewhere doing that, you think, guys?
Most
Yeah,
likely.
It's probably dragging his human to
Yeah, his
murder him in
unconscious
some
human.
horrible way. I guess we should probably stop him.
At least till we get the periscope taken care of.
Yeah.
And now, how many days away is supposedly the releasing of the civilians?
They
That's hard to determine because Crimson's in charge now.
I know that, but apart from the influence that he may do,
Mm.
yeah, and by the book, when are the civilians supposed to be released?
I can try to take the dates. It's a little bit unclear based on the recordings of
I mean, it's not in 3 hours, right? It's like in a few
No.
days or a week or something like that.
It takes some time for Caesar to build the wall, so it's so let me just have a look. But it is like the whole verse is sort of like in narrative time because it was written because it wasn't like written to be realistic. It was written by the Archon and Diva to like underline some the events. But let's see. Okay, the works of the siege. Yeah, that seems like okay. So it was 14 miles of wall, 21 kilometers of wall towards the outside, and like about the same towards the inside. So technically, it probably took like quite some time, but in verse time, it might be like a few days if if you wait this long.
So do we want to hop on the periscope thing at least initially? The wall's being done, right?
Yeah, might as well try. Won't hurt to have double plans.
All right. So yeah.
I guess I should sneak out and go inform Stefan of our plan. And
Are you? Okay. So are the other two going to stay inside?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Oliver, don't get captured.
Okay.
That's the plan.
You are ordered to not allow yourself to get captured.
If you die, we'll kill you.
Yeah. Don't come back.
Okay. Because it's on high alert, you're going to be rolling intrusion at -6 to escape Elysia right now, without being spotted. Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Alright, I definitely need to do some things to boost that.
Oh.
I only have a 12 intrusion.
Hey,
Only a 12.
Are both of you planning to do the Sigmata thing when he does that?
Most likely.
And have you thought about what type of character you want to be in that?
I have absolutely not looked at it whatsoever at all in the slightest.
Well, I just mean in generic terms.
I played a one-shot of Stigmata with Simon at one point, and I might just bring back my character from that, depending on whether or not I come up with something super cool and new. but I really liked playing her, so I might bring her back.
Yeah, no, like when I say I haven't looked at it at all, I literally mean I have not looked at it at all.
But every single game has essentially a basic 4 templates: the fighter, the rogue, the mage, the healer. Essentially 4 sort of. And every game you can look at your character as being, that one of those focuses. So
I suppose that's a good point.
Yeah.
Um.
Mine was definitely more roguelike.
Back to the current game, though.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Could you roll for intrusion at -6, please, Oliver? Scorpio, middle count.
Just walking out the door. I think I'm going to start off going to one of the like a stable or something,
Mm-hmm.
and asking them for a horse because I've been ordered to deliver a message.
All right. Roll for subterfuge at -3. Because you're. Ooh, that does not look good.
Nope.
Nope. All right. So yeah, you come across. Do you take the light or the dark?
I mean, I'll take the light just because it's got a 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what happens. You are given a horse. You're somewhat convincing, but as you are making your way towards the door, the stable boy who gave you the horse comes running after you and says, "Sir, Vercingetorix just ordered that we close the gate and that nobody leave." Who's it who was telling you to send a message? And the guards at the door seem to be hearing this. The door is still is like barely open. Well, it is broken, so like it's still like it's halfway open.
All right. Pull some history. Ajax.
Do you have the domain history?
Nope. I'm pulling that out of nowhere. Pretty sure I read it in a comic one time.
It's also Philip's uncle's name.
And the dish soap.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, Ajax was in the War of Troy. It had nothing to do with Elysia. But so this is yeah. The you. I think yeah, I think the person looks like they're about to raise the alarm on you. What do you do? You could always try to just ride out, but I know how poor your driving skills are.
My driving skills aren't terrible. I mean, they're only 2, but I don't have horse. I'll just. I'll watch them. I mean, I can't attack them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the stable boy yells to the guards at the door and say, "Hey, don't let him get away. We have to. Vercingetorix ordered we close the doors."
I'm not riding at this point. I'm just sitting on a horse looking at him.
All right, yeah. So yeah, he's just going to like go to the door and have it closed, and then like he tells the guards, this man says he was leaving to send a message for Ajax. Do you know? Do we have any leaders that are called Ajax that since the new ones died? And like the guard just like thinks for a second and like shakes his head. And yeah, you've got 3 guards who are walking with you, walking towards you, spears in hand.
I'll just say, what's the issue? I was told to deliver a message from Ajax.
Okay, so you're trying to basically just keep being persuasive and keep insisting. That can work sometimes.
Lie.
Yeah, that can work sometimes. Go ahead and roll for persuasion, but they're very dubious, so you're doing this roll at -6. Or it's either persuasion or subterfuge, whatever you have most in.
Where are crimes and penalties?
I believe you're taking danger as a penalty.
Probably from risk, yeah.
Yeah, risk.
Risk efficiency. So it's only -3.
Okay. All right.
The darkness.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Theo is balanced again because it turned out Theo had more than 100 points of experience unspent, so it was possible to just rebalance everything.
Yeah, it turns out I'm bad at math. How I passed my TSI, I'll never know.
So yeah, Oliver, you keep insisting, and like you seem so certain, and like you really look like a goal. You've got the accent and everything. So they end up letting you go, but they're going to remember your face if you ever come across those particular guards again. What are Philip and Chris doing in the meantime?
Hunting down the periscope probably, and then if we still have time, probably going to talk to Belzebar.
Okay. So yeah, you find the periscope rather easily. It's where it's in the like command center, and it's rather easy to find Belzebiel because he's at the end of the traces of a bloody body being dragged across the floor, all the way to the like basically you find him stuffing the body inside of the carcass of a torpedo, and just like trying to push it to push it shut like an overstuffed suitcase. And when he sees you arriving, he says, "Can I get a little bit of help here?"
I'm just gonna ignore that. Shit. We just wanted to talk to him to figure out the periscope, but we found it. Is that right?
Yes.
Did we have any other reason to talk to him?
Yes. No.
Yes.
Hey, Mark Anthony. I'm helping you cover his body. I'm pretty sure he saw your face. You wanna help me out here?
Yeah, you're actually we were coming to ask you a couple of quick questions too. I'll grab the body and start helping him stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you finish stuffing the thing shut, and he says, "Sure. Ask me any question. You can come with me. I'm gonna go and pick up some bleach and everything I need to clear up the blood.
Okay. So what we're interested in is the periscope and the supplies for repairing the periscope should it happen to become damaged.
That's interesting. You want to rebuild you want to save the Roman Empire by bringing technology to them?
No, not at all.
All right.
But we can go with that if it's easier for you.
Oof. Uh, all right. So, I could give you access to it, and I could figure out how it's how it how we could take like disassemble it and bring it to you. It's could take me a little bit of time, but could definitely sneak it out of these walls.
That would be awesome. Are you going to have any problem yourself being able to wander around here in this camp?
Ooh, probably after a couple of days of my human not showing up and me saying that I'm relaying messages from him, he could get into trouble. Yes, I'd like it if this verse ended soon, or if I could leave Elysia and potentially go to another encampment nearby if I happen to have allies in that place.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because the whole idea with what we need the periscope for is directly related to us ending this and getting out of here as soon as possible. Which, if I'm not mistaken, when that happens, you then wake up in control of his body back in the real world.
I am totally down for that.
All right, so let's get that cracking as quickly as possible.
All right. Be right back. And he's gonna go to what looks like a cabinet, and like he pulls out a bunch of like a series of files. He starts to like pour through them, and he says, here it is. March 1998. All right. Be right back. He opens it, and this disappears from sight. The file closes back down and slumps onto the floor.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a memory.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we don't necessarily need to tell him the exact nature of what we really do want to do, but it does seem like he's totally on board with it. So.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah, this is a need to know job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the he's gonna come back like a minute later and say, okay, I really screwed this one up. I completely broke the thing down trying to remove it and almost got myself arrested. I'm going back in there and I'm gonna try to piece it together again. Just give me a couple of hours and I'll have figured out how to remove it safely, properly.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, hours in our perspective of time here.
I might need a couple more tries to get this one
okay.
together, or unless if you have an engineer who knows how to work this stuff.
Sort of. We're trying to facilitate that, so we may or may not be here when you pop in and out during these attempts. But do the best you can for now, and we're going to do what we got to do, and then eventually we'll hook back up and hopefully be able to use the periscope to help get us out of here as quickly as we can.
All right. And like he looks, he takes the file back in his hands and he says, listen, I know that for an entity that's associated with evil, it's hard, but am I finally getting into your good graces? And he's pointing to Philip.
You're weaseling your way in a little bit, I'll admit.
And like like a couple of feet behind him, there's still like the blood dripping out of the
God damn it.
thing. Okay. Da. All right. So, what do you do now?
All right, so Oliver is going to be alerting Stefan that we're going to be bringing him here and then making the same kind of arrangements and then hopefully sneaking back. We should probably try to avoid being seen as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, Oliver's already failed that part pretty badly.
well, we don't know that, do we?
No, no, you don't. It's going to be a great surprise.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm going to basically look around in the periscope, see what I can
Okay.
see, which shouldn't look odd because I'm guessing they all know that this guy is here in the submarine because it's his memory palace, right? So
Yep.
I'm thinking that a periscope moving around shouldn't really spark attention.
Yep.
So
All right. Do make a vigilance check. So it's under Sagittarius first column. Ooh, nice. Okay. It takes. So do you just look around for a minute, or do you keep watch with the periscope?
I'm going to continue to watch until I see anything that is noteworthy of any kind, and then once I notice that, I'm going to tell Philip to take a look.
Okay. So an hour and a half in, you're going to see Vercingetorix accompanied by a couple of people. A human who looks like Farrell, the one who looks very confused. His memory pass just burned, and he seems to be totally out of it. Like he's watching his the embers of his memory palace and like pointing to it and like laughing and walking by some ghouls and like staring at their equipment. And there's a human that looks like Distiel, who has just like a machine gun in his hand, and the three of them are coming towards the entrance. And after talking to people in the entrance, they are going to start heading towards. One of the guards is going to come and like one of the guards from the front door starts running towards the submarine. So you show this to Philip, as you mentioned, and Philip, you see a guard heading towards you. What do you do?
Shit. Okay. We've got a couple of options here. We could let him come in and we can try and subdue him. We could make a run for it. I would really prefer not to do that though, because I think that would be the most dangerous thing to do right now. Yeah, we don't have much time. My best guess at going at this is hoping that he doesn't have any way to communicate with the others on his team. Or at the very least, maybe hide if there's a place to hide on a submarine.
There's places to hide. There's lots of like locked doors and stuff, and doors that can be locked and stuff like this.
Do we want to try that?
Well, the guard who's running over here, does he look like he's running over here the way a messenger runs, or does he look like he's charging?
He's more the messenger type.
Okay. Can you fake Indiel's voice? Or Beelzebub's? whoever the human was.
Oh.
That would be a subterfuge check. Under Scorpio, middle column towards the bottom.
I might be able to. I have a 6.
Ooh, I didn't know you had this much subterfuge, but it's good. It makes sense with all of the sneaking, with all of the sneaking your characters had to do. So yeah, the messenger reaches the door and like bangs into it and say, "Sir, Vercingetorix calls for your aid right now." Sir, more
We
banging.
will be there as soon as I am able.
I point at Philip, I point at my own head, and then I do like the spiraling my finger, trying to say like mentally screwy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Then I point to the door.
Are you doing this thing or this thing?
If I could see you, I could tell you.
Wait, I'm not. And you don't see me on Roll20.
I can see you.
Okay.
It was beside the ear, like circling the ear, or the gather around circling the sky?
I still don't see. I just see that your drawing of you.
Did you
And I do
circle
have
beside your ear or up in the sky?
No, on the side of your temple, just spinning your finger in a circle on your temple.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's this thing. It's this. Yeah. Yeah. I disconnected and reconnected, so I think you're just not gonna be able to see me, unfortunately. Okay. So. Yeah. Philip, make a subterfuge check to impersonate Beelzebub's human. Ooh, nice. You take the lights, I assume. So yeah, you make a convincing enough voice that the guard says just says he said it was urgent, but I'll tell him you're busy, and he leaves.
Okay, so that saved us a little bit of time.
Oh, I wanted you to tell him that you're having problems with your mental faculties, which would be perfectly reasonable given the fact of what has recently happened to him.
The fact that he's dead?
No, that he was killed, and then his memory palace appeared, and now he's locked in his memory palace.
Yes, and he's also dead, isn't he? In his
Yeah,
memory
but
palace?
they don't know. But they don't know that.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
So we don't want to have him tell them that he's dead. So
I'm dead. Go away.
Me.
That would work in a Monty Python skit, but maybe not here.
Yeah.
It's always forgive me this, and I'm like, well, you're dead now, so shut up. You English, you're all so bloody pompous.
So yeah, Beelzebub reappears and says, "All right, I think I've got I've got it this time. I broke the lens during this attempt." He like closes the file and but I'm pretty sure I could do it properly right now if I don't have anybody disturbing me. Why the long faces? You look. Is something bad happening?
Well, they want you outside. Well, they want your human outside.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's a bit of a pickle, and this is also taking longer than I hoped it would in general, so I'm just a little stressed out over that.
Do you think you could go out there and convince them that you came out because your humans busy doing, I don't care what you tell them,
Oh,
something that would convince them to understand why he's busy, but you're there to see what you can do to help?
definitely.
And not busy being dead, but like an actual activity that they would believe.
Of course, I'm glad to see we're moving with our relationship very quickly to you're putting your lives in my hand, but I appreciate it. I'll try to be as convincing as I can.
Well, you are making points with the big guy here.
He seems to think for a second. He's like, "Are you talking about Taurus or yourself?"
I'm pointing at Caesar.
Uh,
I'm pointing in that, pretending that I'm pointing coy, that Caesar doesn't know I'm pointing, but it's obvious I'm pointing to Caesar, by Caesar, for Caesar, about Caesar,
Yeah.
but not saying Caesar.
Beelzebub says, "All right, knock 3 times, because the actor is about to enter the stage." He bows and he leaves the
Break a leg.
submarine. Oliver, you reach Caesar's camp once
I
again.
got out.
Wait.
I
Yeah,
was denied
I thought, yeah, I said they let you go through, but it's gonna
Oh,
be hard to come
okay.
back in. Yeah. You succeeded your second subterfuge check, so yes, you're reaching Caesar's camp. The warriors who are outside, like they don't sound like a big alert when they see you, approaching, because they recognize you, but they are wary of you for a few minutes, and then you are led to where to Caesar's tent, where Allison, Apollo, and Stefan are staying.
This
Hmm?
the verse I'm wearing right now.
Oh, yes.
Can I end it anytime I want, or does it go all the way till sunrise?
I'm gonna say you can end it whenever you want, but the rules are technically unclear on that.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
So yeah, when they are a bit, you do see Apollo. You do see Stefan like reaching for a weapon when he sees you enter, but like you tell him that you do the secret Hermes handshake and you're good. So what do you do?
I'm going to tell them. Wait a second. Stefan came up, or Stefan was the one that told us about this plan.
Hmm?
Alright. Stefan was the one that did the roll for this periscope idea.
Oh yeah. Wait. I made him roll for. Yeah, science. My bad. I guess one of you figured it out. I shouldn't have made a roll for him because he wasn't there. Yeah, that's a mistake on my part. But we can say that his student Philip had the idea, because you just took points in alchemy. You just took the domain. Philip just took the domain alchemy.
Alright.
Mhm.
Then yeah, I'll tell Stefan we came up with this great plan. Might be able to send Crimson out of the verse, but we need his help making a telescope. Philip can explain better, but we're gonna have to get you there, which means he's going to have to teleport you, same as he did Chris.
Apollo says that is quite an interesting plan, but have you considered the more logical solution?
Which is
launching Caesar out of the verse.
How is that going to help us resolve the verse?
At this point in the fiasco, I believe that abandoning ship would be the best solution. And you can see Allison and Stefan look, you know, don't look like they like the idea, but Apollo says, your bodies are in danger in the physical world, and you might get murdered at any moment. I say it's better to live another day and have you all return to try to uh, be able to correct new verses and just end it there instead of unless if you have Vercingetorix already captured and ready to go. I'm suggesting we give up, take the easy way out.
Suppose we'll have to talk about that as a group. But from what's been said, it seems like we've already been caught. And if I'm really have to die, I mean, I don't want to. It's be very inconvenient and unfortunate, and the world would lose a absolute genius. But I would rather die and not know about it, I guess.
Oh, you're saying you'd rather die blissfully trying to change this verse than and lose your life for your ideals than do the logical thing.
No, I'd rather just not feel myself die. It seems unpleasant. I've watched a couple people do it now. If they murder me in the observatory, I'm just hoping I don't realize it while I'm in here.
Allison nods and says, I understand that. It's painful. As someone who has to live it every day, it's not the best.
You know, you are really not helping Allison.
I am agreeing with you.
Alright, so I guess we should set up Stefan to get ready to go. And well, I hope Philip's ready.
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to be getting this. Stefan says yes. Stefan says help me put on my disguise, and then I can just we just have to get onto a hill from which I can see the submarine, and I'll teleport there.
Oh yeah, you can teleport too. That
Yes.
is so much more convenient.
Definitely. Okay, so we're gonna say that you used the costumes that you had prepared with the subterfuge roll previously, and Stefan is going to like just appear in next to the submarine later. What are you going to do?
He can't take someone, can he?
Nope.
How close to dawn is it?
It is getting there. The night is currently at its darkest, but that's only because dawn is only like 1 or 2 hours away.
And I look like an old man when I'm not disguised, right?
Yes, you still have the verse that changes your appearance.
Like when I just look like Caesar's doctor. Caesar's doctor is fairly old, right?
Yeah. You keep the same traits, but you don't look like the general description for you would be the same, but you look different.
Yeah. Um. Ah. I'm going to wait until. How much has the Roman army surrounded the wall now?
Hmm?
How much has the Roman army surrounded the wall now?
Like 1/4 of the like they've built like foundations to cover like 1/4 of the perimeter they're going to do.
And I assume they have pickets out for most of
Pickets?
it. Yeah, like sentries.
Oh yeah, like yep.
How am I going to get back in now?
You don't necessarily. I mean, like you could sneak in at with the -6 intrusion roll.
No, for now, I'm going to tell Stefan that I don't think I can get back in at the moment. I'll try again in a couple hours once things have died down a little bit.
All right.
Some stuff went on inside their fort, and they're kind of on alert.
All right. Stefan says, "We. I'm going to ask the rest of the team what they think about uh, the plan of just leaving the verse. I vote. I don't have a vote. Allison says, I vote we stay and try to finish rewriting, and Apollo says, I vote we leave. And Allison just looks at Apollo for a second, like she didn't expect Apollo to have a voice in the matter, but doesn't say anything. And Stefan asks you, what is your vote?
I mean, you know my vote. I'd rather die blissfully in here, being completely unaware if I was getting murdered.
All right, so it's 2 votes to stay and finish the verse, and one vote to leave. And he disappears. He's going to appear. He's going to enter the submarine dressed as a gold. Right after your characters are done sending the messenger away. He enters. He tells you the new idea. Philip and Chris, that if he can modify the telescope, he could send Caesar out of the verse and just leave it there. What do you do?
Well, I know we could do that, but why would we?
Apollo suggests that it would be a way for us. It would be easier than getting Vercingetorix, and it would allow us to return to our bodies faster before they are put in more danger than they need to be. Philip?
I didn't realize I was muted that entire time. I'm so sorry. I was like saying stuff. Oh God.
It's okay. It happens.
Sorry. Yeah, my big thing is if we end up sending me back, does that mean that all the things we've done here will amount to nothing?
It would mean that Caesar gets control over his body again, and
I don't rewrite the verse.
You could have faith that Caesar would just do things nicely afterwards, but it's unlikely the verse would be rewritten as you intended.
What if we leave Caesar in the camp when we do it?
There's also there's also the other option that you send everybody back and leave Caesar to, or somebody back, and you leave Caesar um, to finish the rewriting.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, can you explain that a little more?
Philip
Then?
Okay.
Caesar or Caesar?
Basically, you could keep Philip in here to finish rewriting, while the rest of you use the telescope to go back to your bodies. Because it's just the telescope that projects your body, your minds elsewhere. You just need to aim it at Earth.
That sounds better than the first plan to me. That'd be a way to actually finish the verse, finish the mess that I've gotten us into, and have our bodies not defenseless, aside from the vault door, which hopefully is still holding up.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we could. I'm not sure how effective we're going to be against an army of highly trained Anubis, but yeah, that is an option. Although I'm not there, so I don't get a say in this. This is your discussion while Oliver is at camp.
He is. Stefan says, whatever we choose, I'm going to get started on the telescope. And he's going to go with Belzebiel. After a couple of minutes, you're going to see that Belzebiel manages to convince Stefan to call his Archon and his Diva to so that they have like multiple points of views when they're like taking down the periscope and like making alchemical modifications to it. After a few minutes more, Stefan comes back and he says, I'm going to need some silver and some gold to finish the modifications. They're alchemical compounds that are important. The Hawaii Observatory telescope has a large plate of silver, which gives it its unique properties. That's why and it's represented. It's a metal associated with darkness, and gold is associated with light. I need both of these to send to protect an Archon and a Diva.
Do I have any gold or silver on me, either as coins or embedded in my armor?
Ooh, that's actually that's that's a great idea. Yes, I believe we established you had some sesterces. You had some like Roman coins, and you'd have some gold on your armor based on all of the paintings that of Caesar. So yeah, okay.
Philip is disguised as a ghoul, though.
Oh yes, you are currently disguised as a ghoul.
Oh, so we'd have to go. Shit.
Stefan says, I could probably teleport there and
retrieve it.
And back, but I might draw some attention with my teleportations. The other option is we could try to steal it from somewhere inside of Elysia.
Oh god. Oh god.
We should do more rewritings where you have a lot of moral choices to do. Theo, that you sound like the struggle is real.
It's so real. Oh god. Oh yeah, and this isn't even like the morality of it. It's more of like which one is least likely to get us killed on the spot. Oh my god. I don't know. I'd almost prefer that you teleport, because even if it draws attention, we got our Archon friend here who might be able to keep people out.
Oh yes. Oh, by the way, like he's come back from talking with Vercingetorix, and it went okay. Beelzebub says, "Yes, I can keep drawing attention away from here. It's such a shame that my human is depressed after his the rest of his life unlived. He needs to be." He needs to to recover from his sadness and depression, and only I and his diva can take care of it.
Sure thing, buddy.
Okay, so all right. Stefan is going to teleport there and back, getting the amounts of silver and gold that he needs. All right. Okay, so you are okay. The dawn breaks. You start to recover light karma. In fact, you can refill all of the light karma that you have, and Chris, you notice Vercingetorix and the two humans that are associated with him coming towards the submarine, just as Stefan is saying, "All right, I'm only a few more minutes and I'll be done."
Well, they're coming right now.
All right. Stefan turns to Philip and says, "Time to choose. Do we stall them and you leave, or you make some of us leave, or do we finish this with by capturing Vercingetorix?" Well, it's up to both you and Chris technically to vote.
Yeah. I'm against the idea of sending me out because that would completely negate all the work that I don't know, that might end up saving us a world of trouble if the verse ends up not getting rewritten. But then we put in all this time and effort and put ourselves in danger so we're not doing that. We're not doing that. That was no. So do we want to send some of you back, or do we want to all work together to capture Vercingetorix? What do you think, Chris?
I think we should ambush them when they get here, attack them, and knock them all out, and take them captive. And at that point in time, we can choose what we want to do. We could either kill him to force him. I don't know what happens if we kill him inside a memory palace, and then his memory palace forms inside a memory palace.
That is going to be such a train wreck.
Especially if his memory palace is a train.
Nice. But no, technically, he's Crimson. He's already died once, so his memory palace has formed somewhere already. If he died now, it's like Stefan, his death would be permanent.
Okay, so
let's fucking kill
we could just kill him and be done with him.
Yeah.
And then that maybe it doesn't necessarily resolve
the
Vercingetorix verse, but it could resolve Caesar's verse.
Yeah, and it would save us from Crimson in the future.
Yeah, because if you do send him away with the telescope, his spirit will just end up somewhere, and then might become a problem again. So it's whether you've got to choose between saving Crimson and possibly finishing rewriting Vercingetorix verse as well, or killing him and only changing Caesar's verse.
If Caesar leaves, right? If so, Philip leaves.
Mhm.
Does that cancel this whole thing and everybody goes back?
You don't know if Caesar leaves. If Philip leaves, Caesar takes control of his body, and everybody's thrown out of the verse. But the verse, but the actors keep playing inside of it, keep finishing the actions.
But
As
what
with
happens to myself and Oliver?
you're also thrown out.
Okay, so we'll use that as our last ditch. It's gone south. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no backup plan left that is viable. You just run to the telescope and get sent out.
All right.
Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds like a great plan to me.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we're
this.
going to kill Crimson.
All right.
Oh yeah.
He is banging on the door, and you can see Beelzebub like stops helping Stefan, just takes a knife and like passes it from hand to hand, looking excited and licking his lips.
So here's what you need to do, all right? You're going to have to put on your best game face because this is all relying on you. This is where you show us we can count on you and that we haven't wasted our time and misplaced our faith in you. You need to go and you need to apologize to him and tell him that I don't even know what your human's name is. I should probably know him. I killed him. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Just make an excuse and tell him that you're going to bring him to him. He's just finishing up some research that he was doing really quick to try and figure out what to do next. So we want you to lead him, not to here, to like a place a room or two away, but in a room before that, Caesar and I are going to be laying in ambush.
All right, I'll tell him Jean-Jacques is over there. Perfect. And he starts to leave, and he answers the door and says, "Hello, master of my master, come here. Jean-Jacques he's been waiting for you. He's still feeling horrible. The poor lad. That death was awful. Being pierced into the heart like this. I felt all of it, and I can understand his trauma, honestly." Okay, so you both have an advantageous position, and you're
And then Oliver will be with the telescope, and Stefan waiting to defend it if someone shows
Oliver
up
isn't
there.
back. It's
Oliver's stuck in camp because
okay.
he can sneak back into camp into
Oh,
camp
gotcha.
right now.
Okay, I gotcha.
All right.
So Oliver can bring people to him, but Stefan can teleport himself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's actually Philip can bring
Philip.
people to him.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so roll initiative to see which one of you acts first. This is not going to be the toughest fight you've had, but if you had decided to just go and murder him immediately, I'd have had like a bunch of soldiers there, so you're actually like okay. Chris,
Chris is going first.
Yes, it turns out in a surprising turn of events, you're first, and you also act twice this turn because you rolled over 24. So you act. It's just the second time is going to be after Philip. So you act first, and you have an advantageous position, so you can have a free prime for your ambush. So will Philip. So what do you do?
Well, this may come as a surprise to you, but what I'm going to do is the overpowering an opponent maneuver. I am going to attempt to. I want to grapple him. I want to silence him, so there will be no verses being done.
Okay.
And I want to take him hostage, but that's 2 free actions with automatic successes. I don't know how that works.
Technically, you could do both. Yeah, I think the silencing one is going to be pretty powerful, but I think it's more it's more with the idea of like stopping someone from raising the alarm. But yeah, technically, we're gonna say it affects versus as well. So yeah, you can just do that with a single action. So roll brawl, please.
Okay, add a penalty of.
No penalty. You're just rolling against me, and I.
Oh,
It's
God.
which one which one are you doing this on? Because there's the human who's lost his memory. There's the human who hasn't lost his memories.
Versus Generics.
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
Richardson.
yeah. You catch and silence and take Vercingetorix hostage. Philip, it's your turn. You can see on his face that the human who's lost all of his memories because his memory pad is burned he's about to shriek like hell, and the other one is going to reach for his weapon, but there's still time because you're ambushing. What do you do?
Okay, could I try and quickly stab the guy who's about to yell to hopefully, I don't know, that would probably make it yell more though, depending on how well I stab him.
Yes.
You know what? We're not gonna do that because I was like, oh, no.
Might I make a suggestion? We
Yes.
raised your we spent some of your experience points and raised your
Yes.
weaponry. Currently, since they are surprised,
Exactly.
something that you could do is you could try to stab a certain like a few times. If you did like for example 4 stabs with the Ares aura, you could and you succeeded with all of them. You could just knock out 2 people, take enough life points that 2 people would go down, but that would involve rolling at -9 for your rolls,
How
bringing
about
your
to help me out? I bring up my shadow.
yes, we can say that you already had done this at dawn because you knew there was going to be an attack, so that spends you one point of darkness karma, and you only need to do 3 attacks at -6.
Okay.
4 attacks at
All of them
-6.
-6?
Yes.
4 attacks.
And you have your free prime.
Okay.
You also have a free prime,
Right.
so you
So
can
that puts it at -3
for one of them.
for one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you
I'll
want to
do
try
one
that?
first?
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Oh.
that's perfect.
All right. So the human without any memories is failing at is mostly dodging. The other one is going to draw his sword and try to block, and I should be at -3 on the second roll. Okay, so you've landed the first 2 blows. Go ahead and make another 2 rolls at -6 against 10 and 15.
All right.
And
Good job, Philip.
okay, yeah.
Finally, some good fucking rolls.
That's what happens when you actually spend your experience points to raise your stats.
I just completely miscalculated them like a fool.
Yeah, so yeah, like Caesar just starts like his whirl of iron and death, and you bring those 2 down. You're going to see that like on Beelzebub arrives in the room like shrieking being like surprise bitches, and they're all on the floor, and he's like, oh come on, you could have left one for me, and you can see that Distiel was following them behind, and he was ready to like draw and help you, but you finished the job really fast. In your hands, Crimson is struggling, Chris, and it's not the first time that you've captured him and that he's started to try to get out of your grip. But you have a second turn on the initiative in the surprise round before he even gets to roll initiative. So, what do you do?
As I begin now, okay, so I would like to move to the strangle action, but while strangling him, I still have him hostage and silenced, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to do that as I whisper into his ear. Let your last thought be that you never, on your best day, stood a chance against us. You backed the wrong horse. It's over.
All right.
That's badass.
That's really cool. He's gonna try to struggle until the very end. So, roll some brawls for me.
Nice.
I don't even know why I'm still trying. But yeah, if you beat 14 and 19, you're gonna be able to keep him in the chokehold long enough.
Nobody's business.
He could roll a 1 for the second attack.
Oh yeah, he does have 18. So yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Crimson finishes choking. His eyes become red. Foam starts to appear around his mouth, and Vercingetorix dies in your iron grip. And when this happens, the light inside of the submarine starts to shimmer a little bit differently, and you can feel the verse ending around you decomposing slowly. It's going to take a minute, but the process has started. You've finished. You've almost finished rewriting this verse.
Now for the hard part. What we need to do is make it look like he took his own life out of the shame of trying to defy the will of Caesar.
All right.
That's an interesting plan. I'm not sure that's a light action.
That's.
But Oliver's not there to stop you, so go ahead.
Yeah. How are you going to?
Or we can make it look.
Yeah.
We can blame it all on Beelzebub.
I'm right here. I'm literally standing right here.
Shrug emoji.
Okay, but no, this actually, I have a question. What would happen if you were killed here, Beelzebub?
I would die permanently.
Okay, then we can't do that. I was thinking maybe if since now you're the last occupant of that body, maybe if you were killed here, you'd go back. In which case that wouldn't be an issue. But we need you to be alive when this whole thing ends in order to go back.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay, so we need you to stay alive. So the plan has to somehow not incorporate you, because that would end up with you not making it.
Yes.
I mean, it was just a thought. I mean, some way to manipulate, because we won't be able to dictate what the verse is, but in a roundabout way, we can if we make sure that what is perceived by everybody here is what we want it to be perceived as. So we wait a minute. Okay. Oh, so if so it doesn't help if I get killed here, right?
No.
If I get killed here, I die. I was going to say we could do something like Mark Antony killed him, and then Caesar Caesar drags me away in chains to stand trial, and then After that, we all leave. Keeps all of us alive.
Not a
Makes
bad
it seem
idea.
like Caesar is being merciful, but going to still try
Mhm.
for the crimes. So maybe Vercingetorix people, although they'll be bloodthirsty and probably want to cry for the death of Mark Antony, at least if we do that. And then when we all leave, it puts Caesar back in control, not his Archon.
Because the verse is ending, there's not going to be actions after the point where you leave that are going to count for the verse.
Ah.
Yeah.
So once we leave, nothing further occurs.
That's correct.
But that's exactly what I was hoping for. Not that Caesar would, but for the rest of. But then, so would that change history from that point forward for Caesar, or would Caesar still have been controlled by an Archon in the real history from that point forward?
It does not change actual history. It only ever changes the Great Book version of history.
Why don't we just burn the Great Book? I mean, really, why don't we just burn it when they want to read it? Like, nope. If you were that concerned about what was going on, you would have paid attention.
It's called the Great Book, but you just suggested setting fires to the stars and the night sky. That's why they're not burning the Great Book.
Should be easy.
I mean, like,
already on fire.
Yeah, like you can't just start fires in every verse that you go.
So
and
the book is more figurative. Not
yes, it's the poetic name that's been given by that's how the gods called this engine. All right. Okay. I think yeah, you're like starting to plan to do something with Caesar, but it's when there's like a big light and you feel yourself being pulled back towards your bodies. Oliver, just before this, when you were when the lights started to shine around you in a different way, Alison, who stayed with you, picks up Stefan's flower of her memory that's been manifested by his Archon and Diva, and she says, "I have to leave soon. I can't. If I'm still here, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to return to my memory palace if I'm here when the verse ends. But be careful out there. We really don't know the state your body is are in, and you could just end up in a fight immediately. Good luck."
I feel like we're going to need it. Thank you. I hope to see you again, Allison, and I hope I'm not dead at that point.
She smiles and she says, "I'll come to your memory palace immediately, and you can tell me what the situation is if you would need any sort of help. Thank you for all you've done here." And she and Apollo smell the flower and they disappear. You are all pulled out of your bodies and straight...
Can I say something real quick before
Yes.
we go?
Yes.
All right, I want to turn to Beelzebub, and I want to tell him, Chris Catman, University at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. You can contact me through there.
He says, "Oh, perfect, thank you very much." And yeah, that's the last thing you see before you're pulled out of your body. I thought you'd established. I thought he was talking. Yeah, he was talking about establishing a place where you could meet, and
yes.
That's perfect that you did that. You arrive in your bodies on the floor, and you. It's weird because you're in the same room where you left, and your bodies are placed in the same way. But all around you, there's the bodies of 5 Anubis in ceremonial executioner robes, and they're unconscious. They're on the floor, and they're just unconscious around you. And the vault doors have been broken through, and you're all alive. You're all okay. Stefan wakes up, and he's fine.
Well, that's good. Do we still have weapons?
Yes, you have whatever weapons you took with you. You usually have with you when you go into this room.
Alright, and Oliver is going to do something very important. He's going to put on his fake mustache and beard.
Okay. Roll for subterfuge.
Like a genuine fake mustache and beard, or like the stick-on?
It's a bit of both.
Based on your darkness roll, it's pretty genuine.
It's definitely a
Right.
stick-on
You just
beard,
straight up
but
grow
I
a
stick
beard.
it on excellently. It's unnoticeable.
But
You just will yourself a beard.
yeah, you
Like Philip blinks, and all of a sudden, holy shit! How long has it been?
yeah. So you're doing this while you're trying not to step on the bodies on the floor, and it's like, yeah, what do you do after that?
Do we have protection from the regular Hermes against the Anubis trying to kill us, or do we need to run out of here?
I'd probably run out of here because if the Hermes have been told you're traitors, you could get into trouble with them as well.
Cool. All right. So I'm gonna suggest that we run and see what everybody else thinks, especially you, Oliver. I know you have a little bit of leverage, but I don't know. I'm thinking we might need to hightail it out of here.
I definitely do not have any leverage right now. They want to kill
True.
me probably more than any of you.
Right. You
Previously held leverage.
you hear footsteps coming down the corridor, coming straight for the first of the two vault doors. It's a single person who seems out of breath. What do you do?
I pull out my gun and I say, "Please be Pelakiko. Please be Pelakiko."
It's Kawapalekiko. He arrives into the room. He looks at the bodies on the floor and he says, "Yes, it worked."
What did
So
you
I was
do?
really hoping that was you.
It's simple. I modified the telescope so that it was looking at a random galaxy, and I sent them into somebody's memory palace. You weren't there, so your spirits couldn't be couldn't be sent, but theirs could.
Oh,
That is
smart
very
man.
clever. That is very, very clever.
Yeah, I've been putting in devices to check the what's been happening inside of the vaults for a while, and I found one. I tweaked it so that I could activate it from the outside if if a situation like this arose, and nobody ever notices the janitor. I might have been fired months ago, but I just put on my old uniform and they let me in. All right, let's
real.
let's get the hell out of here.
So these five were five Neo Hermes who came in here to try to kill us?
No, they were Hermes coming in here to kill us.
These were Hermes who came in here to try to kill us.
Mhm.
There are Hermes.
Neo Hermes are on your side. So, Chris, what do you do?
Well, don't we just coup de grace these five?
I mean, Oliver's not big on killing. And
Why?
At this point, he's not.
There's no God, there's no judgment day, there's no penalty.
It doesn't make him feel good.
I got no problem with it. I draw my sword right through the neck, each one. Coup de grace.
All right.
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna make you win 1 point of darkness debt. For this because they are because it's not like in the heat of the battle. But yeah, that's you finish them off and they won't be chasing after you.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to point that out. I'm not just killing five people because they made me mad. I'm not killing five innocent people. I am killing five people who made a point of coming here with the single intention of killing all of us.
Yes.
So there really is no.
This is
You know,
self-defense.
It's
Yes,
still self-defense.
I agree, but I also like, since technically that could like this action, when you die, if you die without if your memory palace is if you like undo your memory palace before you die, or if you don't do your work in red, your actions could end up being seen as a those actions of like finishing them off could be seen as a darkness action. That's why I was giving you just a single darkness debt. It's just for 1 point of experience. So yeah, you run out of the observatory, and you're making your way towards your vehicles when you hear Selena Murray's voice yelling behind you and saying, "Traitors! All of you! Traitors! Do you know what this is going to cost me? My,
Oliver's going to interrupt this by pulling out a gun and taking a random shot at her. Because he's never liked her,
Holy
and
shit.
he has no reason to disguise that now.
Okay.
It's not very well aimed, just kind of behind him and
Uh,
Just to scare her.
Yeah, go ahead and roll firearms. I believe I have like 2 points in dodge with her, so that's not.
in fact, to emphasize how not aimed it is, I'm going to take the penalty difficult.
Okay.
Uh,
Or you could do minimal damage. To
sure, yeah.
as the penalty.
Damage.
That's
Brave.
also like a way to show that you're not like aiming to hurt. And you, what prime do you take in exchange? Oh, just a penalty.
It's basically just go away.
Okay, yeah.
Take the higher accuracies to reflect shooting her somewhere it doesn't really matter.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you shoot. You're going to like shoot her in the hand. She yells and starts to retreat back, and she says, you could have had memory palaces and lived much longer after your death, but now we're going to track you. I'm gonna make sure the best hunters of the Hermes come after you, and I'll never forgive you for what you've done to my career. And like, yeah, she
Bang
retreats
again.
back into the observatory.
I point my bloody sword at her
Ooh.
and say nothing.
I think we all just have weapons pointed at Selena.
Okay.
I am going to say not our cars. I saw it in a movie once. They got blown up. And I'll just point like a random Anubis car
Okay.
that has the keys on the tire or
Smart.
something.
Yeah. Kawa also came with his trailer, but it's parked a bit farther down. So yeah. Go ahead and roll intrusion.
That'd be a pretty conspicuous getaway.
Yeah. Go ahead and make an intrusion check to break into the car. Okay. Cool. Yeah. You've got the car up and running. Who's driving?
Can anyone drive?
I can drive.
Okay.
I
So
can
yeah.
drive.
Kawa gets into the backseat and he says, "Wow, that's one way to quit your job."
I didn't hear
Yeah.
you say you're fired.
I'm sorry, I really didn't like her. She always got on my nerves.
All right, and Philip is driving you away at top speeds.
Hopefully
Okay.
not.
Hmm?
Hopefully not.
Yeah, I'm trying to blend in.
Okay. All
So,
right.
like,
All right.
I get out of there fast, but once I'm on the street, I blend in, go normal speed, kind of switch around with some cars, go under some tunnels, just go random roundabouts to
Mm-hmm.
get the trail off of us.
Okay, so yeah, you because the observatory is pretty isolated from other things, I think you book it until you reach a road that has like more traffic through it, and then you blend in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you make it out of there, and I'm gonna give everyone 10 experience points for this scenario, because that's it. That's this rewriting scenario is over. But now you're out in the world, and you could go anywhere, and I'm leaving it to the players. I've got like some options and suggestions, but you could take this campaign practically like in any direction you wanted right now. There's still going to be like some plots relating back to the Hermes and Neo Hermes, but yeah, you're in the car, and where do you go?
We probably need to leave Hawaii completely.
Agreed. Kawa says if they are going to track us, we are going to have a problem. Because do you remember how the jackal tracked me down with the verse to find out about you, and then tracked my daughter down based on who could track me down, on who could help me who could help track me down. That means both my daughter and I have to go on the run, and possibly even anybody who could help find my daughter.
Is your daughter safe if she's not with you?
No.
Um,
Reapers are terrible people.
No, that's what I mean. Like, would they have a way to find her if she wasn't with you?
He's actually going to turn to Stefan, who knows verses really well, and Stefan is going to say that she should be safe, but we need to put her in a safe house.
Well, I can put her.
Okay, do we
in
know of any
contact-
safe houses in the area?
It's going to depend on your influence. Do any of you have an influence of 7?
No.
No.
Where is influence again?
Beneath your stats, you do not have an influence of 7. You kept your resources at starting level. So yeah, I believe,
Okay.
and I don't think Chris raised his influence either. So yeah, I believe it's just going to be Stefan who with his usual Neo Hermes contacts, who can try to accommodate for that. Kawa says, I'm already going to have to leave my home. I'm going to stay with my daughter.
Are you? I want to say yes. Are you sure that won't give them any opportunity to find us through you?
If we're both safe, then we should be fine. Stefan says I could try to. We're also going to need a new base of operation. I could ask some of my contacts, but maybe some of yours could. Maybe we could go with some of your contacts too.
I might be able to find something given some time.
Right.
I know plenty of people that would like to stay hidden, both on the lost side and the well, everything else side.
Yeah. Do any of these contacts live outside of Hawaii? Because I just have a horrible feeling that if we stay in Hawaii, we are just going to make it easier for them to find us.
Technically, you have contacts all over the country that you start in. You just have penalties to your resources when you're trying to use contacts and stuff like this from outside, from countries outside of the one you have your influence in.
Okay. But if we like flew to like Ohio,
Yeah, you could
it wouldn't be.
yeah, you wouldn't have any penalties to your resources for that.
Okay. I don't know. Just thought. The thought of staying in Hawaii right now. It's got me really on edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere else in the world would be excellent. I suppose you Chris have a lot of contacts in Brazil. Philip, I assume you have contacts in the States. And then I have some contacts up north. Plenty of desolate wilderness we could hide in. Although, how you get internet there is a challenge.
I don't know. What are you thinking, Chris?
I have some friends there. I mean, I can also travel around and be very mobile. So if they wanted to try to find me, it would involve a lot of moving. You know, I can do that. If we don't have anything right now, do we want to try and lay low for a little while and force them to run around for a bit, or is that what we were thinking about?
That'd probably be best. Yeah, that'd probably be ideal. If we don't have a solid plan right now, we need to just keep quiet and try and stay hidden while we figure this out.
You see Kawa turning back to look at the observatory, and he says, "So none of us are going to be able to visit Alison's memory palace anymore, right?"
Not for a while, but she can visit ours.
Oh, so it's still possible to communicate with her. That's good. By the way,
Yes.
Oliver, she's still been waiting in your memory palace, waiting for the news ever since.
Yep, I mean,
Yeah.
Oliver's been a little busy. I guess he'll take some time on the drive to enter his memory palace and talk to her.
Right.
Okay, so you tell her that everything is going okay.
Well, that's a bit of an overstatement, but we're not dead.
We quit our jobs, and it was Chris had a bloody sword. I shot my boss. It was awesome.
Oh my god. Yeah, you know, just a typical Tuesday afternoon.
I've lost track of days.
Yeah, our games are on Tuesday. Yeah,
that was Oliver. That was Oliver saying.
Gotcha.
He's lost track of days.
Oh, by the way, if it needs saying, because it's gonna go on YouTube, don't quit your job like this. Chris just killed 5 people.
Yep.
Okay.
But to be fair, I didn't really.
This is not how you quit your job.
Yeah. So Kawa says Kawa gives you direction to drive to where his daughter works.
We can go there and pick her up, but I say we keep moving. If we go anywhere connected to where they already expect us to possibly be, that's just, we're putting ourselves in danger. We We can pick her up and bring her with us, but we're not going to be able to stay there.
Yeah.
Network gets you information, right?
Hmm?
Network
Yes.
gets you information, right?
Yes.
Oliver's going to make a call on his very expensive cell phone.
Okay.
I mean, because it's a cell phone, so it's very expensive. Doesn't matter if it's actually nice.
Yeah.
To one of his contacts, like one of his hacker contacts, and ask them if they know of anyone who's willing to drive people off the island and be flexible about legality of it.
Okay. Yes. How much is your not influence the other one? Network.
8.
8. Okay. Yes. You find someone who's expensive. You find someone who is going to need a wealth of 8 to who's going to need somebody to pay with a wealth of 8 to get you off of the island. But you do have such a contact. Now, if you do not have a wealth of 8, you can indebt yourself, basically drawing on all of your resources, and lower your resource for a certain amount of time in exchange for getting something that's out of your normal price range. So,
can we combine wealth?
No, it's the system becomes extremely broken as soon as somebody tries to combine those things. So, no. That's why Jonathan had the character that was going to have all of the points and resources, and then he left, so your group doesn't have that much resources, basically.
Does anyone have a wealth higher than 6?
It's right under your skills view.
Higher than 6, or would 6 base work? Because I have a wealth of 6.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. I'll
I
be
also
right
have
back.
6.
Oh.
Why do we need an 8?
If we want to get off the island with someone who's flexible about legality of, killing 5 people, shooting 1 person, and potentially being chased by an international organization that wants to kill us. So, someone will do it
None of
quietly.
whom are openly recognized as a legitimate authority figure by the recognized government, right?
Pretty much, yes.
So there's no warrants out for our arrest. We're not wanted by the police. We're not wanted by Interpol. We're not wanted by anybody who has any legal authority.
The 8 have ways of getting legal authority when they need to. Especially the Hermes, who can have some mind influencing powers, but so it's a possibility. But Kawa also says that they looked like those people coming in to murder you were their only plan. So if we hurry to the airport, we might be able to make it.
Oliver's worried about them reviewing evidence and security footage and stuff and finding out where they went.
That's a very good point.
So he is putting out the offer of, I know of someone that can get us out of the state or the country without any records.
Okay.
So, yes, if you take, if either of you buys this for everyone else, it's going to diminish your wealth by 1 for 3 months.
Only 1?
Yep.
Huh.
But it accumulates and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, like, if you start indebting yourself, you could go very low and like the time stacks up. So you have the temporary value and the length reduction mods. Oliver, would you pay?
Yeah.
If you won't, I'd be willing to.
Oliver will pay.
Okay. So yes, you're currently at the docks exchanging money with a native Hawaiian who who agrees to put you in a cargo container with all of the amenities that you need to survive for a trip of 5 days before you're dropped off in the country of your choice. And where do you go? Because I believe Chris has an appointment.
I don't have an appointment.
With Biel's.
No, I told him how he could get in touch with me.
Ah.
I don't need to be there. I could just make a phone call from anywhere and check in, see if I have any messages waiting for me there.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're putting a answering
Fair.
machine. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, he can just
Oliver.
contact the college and leave a message for me, and I can call it and get it.
Yeah.
So
Oliver
I'm not worried
also,
about that.
Oliver also does the spy thing of taking out the battery and crunching the phone in half and then throwing it in the water.
Okay.
Yeah. Big
Get a
same.
new phone somewhere else.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Kawa
So-
does
I
this.
just open it
Want
back
to
and
go
take
to-
the SIM card out and throw that away.
Remember, Oliver gets most of his knowledge on how to be a spy from TV shows and movies.
So Kawa brings Leimomi with him, and they seem confused that like they were dragged out of work like this, and like Kawa is just trying to explain the whole situation to Leimomi, who and you as you're making as you're like going through all of the dollar bills that you have, Oliver, ready to like hand them out to someone who's taking you out of the country illegally. You hear Leimomi saying, "Wait, are you in a criminal organization or something?" And Kau says, "No." Yeah. What? He like basically he went to pick them while you were like arranging the trip. So, what do you do, and where do and Oliver? You haven't. You also need to pick a destination. So, what do you do?
Well, the guy's counting money.
I-
Oliver's going to pull out one of those needles of knockout drug
Mm-hmm.
and subtly pass it to Chris and say, "Remember, just half a dose if they need it."
Gotcha.
Or like gesturing towards Palakiko's child. And then he'll turn to Philip and say, "Where do you feel like going?"
So, we probably want to go somewhere that they would not expect us to go, or at least a place that we do not have ties to. So, I say we just pick a place at random, but preferably a place where we would have the ability to communicate with the people there and be able to blend in.
Right,
Steph-
Australia.
Stefan comes back from making a phone call to a phone booth to the site, and he says, "All right,
Okay, good.
I've asked my contacts, and there's somebody came back to me with it's a small village on the mainland in a rural in a very rural country, very isolated in the desert, and he's making an experiment there. Oh wait, no. Hold on. No, she's making an experiment there. She's. Do you remember we established we know that people anybody who comes close to us who learns about us could be subject to a verse that could find their name and if they are a clue that could lead back to us, unless they have an Archon or a Diva. And my friend, she is in a village, a very isolated village, and she says that everybody there has either an Archon or a Diva. She's making an experiment, so if we go there, no matter who we interact with, they couldn't become a clue for that verse, recruit her. But it's she didn't tell me much more about the whole thing. She's an old student of mine.
That sounds.
I also probably need to go to Cambridge University to erase some things about me, because they know my memory palace is based on Cambridge University, so they might go looking there now that we've escaped. Oh no, wait.
Do you think we'd be able to get that done in a?
No, wait. All of the humans died in the verse. Did all of the humans die? I can go and kill everyone who isn't dead in the verse next to my memory palace, so that they can't tell anybody it was Cambridge. Hold on. I'm going to my memory palace to murder some people.
Stefan, I think we need to have a talk about you getting your memories back.
Take
this
your
does
dark
not seem
debt.
like you.
Wait, okay, so Philip, yeah, you killed 3 of the humans, and there was no, you killed all 4 of the yeah, you it's okay. Yeah, you already took care of you and Beelzebub finished off all of the Hermes in the verses. He doesn't need to take care of anybody. Never mind. So yeah, we could go there, or we could go literally anywhere else. It's yeah.
We'll start with anywhere else and make our way there.
Okay. Yeah, so they Kawa takes you take a destination that's gonna be like Canada or
It's not going to be Canada if we're trying to avoid ties to places.
Okay.
It's going to be, I don't know, let's go with Mexico.
Alright, yeah. So you start heading off to Mexico. Okay. I think since they would actually be safe there because nobody they interacted with. Yeah, I think Kawa and Leimomi are going to come with you to that village, because then nobody they interacted with could become a clue for them either. So it would be a good place for them to stay. Yep. So that's where you head off. The trip is going to take a while. So while you are on the road there, while you're on the ship or road or whatever, what do you do? You can train. I believe some of you wanted to talk with their Archons and Divas. There's experience points that can be spent, and discussions with NPCs that can be had. So yeah, what do you want to we're gonna say you're gonna be on the road for like 2 weeks.
Oliver's gonna take some time to make some money in his less than legal fashion.
Okay. So you can write that you can take off 2 weeks off of your resources, off of the time that your resources penalty is going to stay. And if you want, you can put experience points to raise your wealth value.
That was the idea.
Okay. You raise the total value, not the current value.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most expensive things to raise, but yeah. Oh, Philip.
2 times. Jeez.
Philip, you gain 1 permanent point of light karma with your diva, and you lose 1 point of darkness karma with your archon, which means you also gain 2 points of trinity karma. And yes, you. So it's going to put you. Wait. Oh, your credits are going. Your credits were supposed to be 0. Okay. Yeah. Your Archon Karma maximum is now 2, and your Diva Karma is now 4, with maximum of 4. So you take debts again, and we have to decide what your new what your new darkness verse for Caesar is going to be. Do you want to do the one that I suggested, or do we want to have a verse that has to do more with resurrection and healing, or something else?
I think really just based off of Philip's experience with everything, he would prefer something with a healing nature to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That would definitely stand out to him the most. Sit in my lap. Stop getting in front of the camera.
All right, Oliver. Oliver, you have a verse where when you cast it on someone, they heal 4 life. When you cast it on yourself, it heals you 4 life points if you ever go unconscious. Philip, would you like a verse like this that heals someone only by 4 life points only if they are unconscious?
That sounds superb.
Okay, we need
better than any healing thing I have, because I don't have any healing thing.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I don't have a healing thing.
Okay, so it's going to be fueled by light karma. Even though it's on your character sheet, it's still the verse of darkness. What is going to be the phrase for that?
That's one I'm gonna think on a little bit, and I'll type it out and let you know. That is something I cannot come up with on the fly.
Okay. Yeah. As long as it has something to do with Stefan being resurrected, doesn't need to be his name. It can be a bit of a cryptic phrase and stuff like this. Some verses are the best verses are the ones that you can fit in a conversation discreetly if it's a subtle effect. Unconscious person. By the way, everybody is free to make suggestions for the phrase or for the new versus effects. But yeah, if you want a healing verse, that's what it's going to be.
We brought him flowers and he walked again.
Ooh, I like that. That's really good. Better than anywhere my train of thought was going.
All right, and the name of the verse is going to be "And he walked again." Is that fine with you for the freezing field?
I think that's perfect.
Okay, cool. So you now have a. Oh, it's perfect because you changed a damaging verse into a healing verse. I love it. It's very thematically appropriate. Okay, cool. Okay. What else are you going to do during those 2 weeks?
I think Philip is gonna spend a lot of time with Stefan, just making sure he's okay and like trying to make up for all the shit that went down in that verse.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Stefan says that things are okay, Philip is like, no, things are not okay, and is gonna try and do things to make things up and let the others know that he completely just went off the rails and next time around should not be put in a place of power.
Okay. So no more flirting with Cleopatra. Okay.
She ends up with Mark Antony anyway.
Yeah. I think Stefan is going to be a bit like, yeah. He tells you that the verse is very weird. Because like when he goes back to his memory palace, it's just like the verse is just frozen in time at the point where you left, and there's the archons and divas of the memory palaces that still exist are able to come and visit him, and he like talks with them, and you can see that like even more so than when he had the memories of his there's a couple of things. He got the memories that had been burnt back because they were created because they were recreated by his Archon and his Diva. And on top of this, he has access to a couple of other memory palaces that popped up inside of the verse. So he's actually going to be spending a lot of time meditating and going into his memory palaces and visiting either his own memories or the memories of the others. So even more than before, because like Philip, you know that he was distracted, and we had Stefan roleplay it like this because he kept going to visit. He was addicted to memories of his dead wife, and he kept going back in those to see her again. But now, like on top of that, he's also trying to find information for you. So yeah, that's what he's doing in the verse. And yeah, he's kind of isolating himself from the group a little bit because of this, and where he's gonna like keep isolating himself as long as Stefan doesn't come back into the game. Chris, what do you want to do during your 2 weeks of travel?
Well, first of all, I had a question about that. You were talking about if you only have a resource of 6, you have to drop 1 for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Is that each of us would have to do that to take that path?
No, it's only one of you had to pay for that.
Oh, okay. So if somebody else was doing that, I'll take the ride.
Yeah.
But I have my own ways to get around, so I wasn't gonna pay. I wasn't gonna take the hit if we all had to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna train. That's it. Actually, we're together with the guy and his kid, right?
Yes, so I don't know if I showed you the images, but Kawa, he's the
yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's now very proud like he's pretty proud to be able to say that yeah, you Oliver and Philip saved his life, but he saved your lives back. So yeah, he's proud of his like of when he knocked out all 5 Anubises all by himself.
That's a pretty impressive feat.
So is his kid able to defend themselves?
They are not. They were a barmaid in Hawaii, and they have been like learning about from Kawa about the whole situation, and not been taking it like been taking it calmly, but just seems to think that you're all in a sort of weird occult criminal syndicate. So they've been a bit distant, but yeah.
They're not really wrong.
Yeah, but no, they don't know how to defend themselves. So if you wanted, you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's the least I can do. After all, your old man did save all our lives. I say that loud enough for him to hear it as well.
Okay.
So, if you'd like, I can show you a couple things that'd help you, at least get away from somebody.
Well, it's not the life I've chosen, but it's the life I'm in now. So, yeah,
especially if you're going to go back to bartending again at some point in time, you might find it handy to know how to keep someone's hands off where you haven't welcomed them to be.
Yes, there have been a couple of times when that issue came up.
All right. So I will practice with them. I'll just show some basic foot stances and teach them about, center of gravity and how it's important for you to manipulate the center of gravity of both your opponent and yourself. You always want to make sure you keep yours lower than theirs. So I'm going to teach some of the lower stances and the leg work and some real basic just hip tosses and bumps, things like that. Things you can do real quick just to put somebody off balance to give you a chance to turn and run and get away rather than I don't want to get involved with the actual combat elements as much as the throw them off balance and get out of their moves.
Gotcha. Oh, it's like yeah, it's really nice because like it could be like a you're teaching them to use like the prudence prime that gives you like bonuses to dodge and flee.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, nice. Okay, they're gonna be like grateful for this, and spending more time with you, they're gonna like connect with you on like probably on the whole we're both new to this very weird occult world, and it's and weird things are happening to uproot our lives, but yeah, like yeah, the two of you are like going to like bond over this, if you're fine with this, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
But I also do want to practice with Philip on a regular basis because that practice can be a lot more hardcore, and we definitely need to keep on the top of our game because we're probably going to run into some of those bozos soon enough.
All right. Philip has improved his brawl and weaponry skills since the previous time, so we can say that's like that's represented by your extra training. Okay. So you yeah, you at the end of those 2 weeks, you make your way to Nowhere, Texas. A small isolated town of just 100 souls live there, far away from the highway and the main roads that you're unlikely to see a lot of people from out of town in here. You make your way there and find that everybody seems to have like the people you come across seem to have light or darkness karma as you're like driving up, and you are going to be greeted by this Neo Hermes. Oh no, wait. Yeah, you're going to be greeted by this Neo Hermes. Uh, she welcomes you. She's Stefan's contact, and she says, "Hello, my name is Joanne Malkovich. I'll be your host here. Um, we should probably talk inside." And yeah,
Right.
she takes you in one of the houses that looks extremely normal on the outside. Like it has a garden and a tree and like stuff like this. But on the inside, it is one of the messiest labs you've ever seen. There's like a lot of alchemical and chemical things here, and you're not quite sure if she is, working on the works in white, red, or black, or cooking meth in here. It looks like it could be either way.
All four.
Um,
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Isn't the term called lived in?
yeah,
It looks lived in.
that's it. And there's like entire barrels of chemicals that are labeled with a lot of warning signs on them, like in the living room. And she says, "Go ahead, sit anywhere. Just not like you. There are no chairs, just those barrels of chemicals."
God. I'll take a seat on the floor.
Okay. Um. So yeah,
I do not put my butt on any of those.
she says, "Okay. First thing you need to know, nobody here has developed clairvoyance, and nobody here is too aware of the whole karma situation."
Hmm.
I thought everyone had an Archon and a Diva.
Oh yes, they all do. I've been trying to work on a universal formula that could work on anyone, and I've been putting it in the water supplies for the work in white and red. But only good things have happened so far. Just people are able to heal wounds much more easily and much faster now, and so some of them have even started developing auras. Like you can see that Stefan is surprised at
I'm not an animal.
yeah, he but like I'm gonna let your characters react instead.
Just another day at the office.
um by yeah, so you can I know why you guys are on the run, or is that on a need to know basis?
Very much need to know.
Understood. Now, Kawa told me there could be people with verses tracking you down. So here's basically the best thing you've got. But I believe. Wait, whose verse is it that can? Hold on, I need to check something. I believe there is one verse that allows you to protect yourself from divination, and it's pathetic oracle. Is it a verse from Aleister Crowley? No, it's not. Yeah, she's going to recommend like there's verses that allow you to stop any form of divination that could be cast on you or people, or to find you, or to like and stop anything coming from near you. If you want to add the extra security. Yeah.
Well, is our being here endangering the people that live here?
No. Since they have archons and divas on them, they can't be the target of divination powers, or if they are, those powers will be extremely vague. The town is appropriately named so that so that any riddles about where you are with the oracle verse would end up being very confusing.
What about for Palakiko or their child? The verses should work fine on them, shouldn't they?
It should work on them, but as long as they but only their names appear, and if a verse is cast to perceive where they are, the surrounding area is nondescript enough that as long as we don't say the name of the town around them too much, we should be fine. The reason I've said this my whole operation in nowhere Texas is because I was hoping it would be a pretty discreet sort of place.
I thought you were going to say there's something about the way verses are worded, and the wordplay was going to result in, when they were asked if they could be located, their result would be the answer was nowhere.
Well, there is a verse called Oracle that Philip has, by the way, that has one to make a cryptic prophecy to concerning a problem that one is facing. So, if that verse was cast, it's likely that the word nowhere would pop up and confuse the oracle.
After searching long and hard, you found them nowhere.
For example. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm trying to keep this whole universal works in quiet. By the way, I would appreciate if you didn't mention this experiment to other Neo Hermes in exchange for hiding you.
I won't tell anyone.
Fair enough.
Hey, you wouldn't have no Aries, would you?
I don't. I know. I know some people who know some Aries. Why do you need a group of heavy fighters?
No, I want to meet Aries.
You mean the leader of the Aries?
Aries.
I think he means as in the god.
Oh, not the members of the Eight.
Aries.
Well,
he wants to meet. Yeah.
From what I know, they're ever since Virgo set in place the security around the Earth, none of them have been able to step on it. So I believe they're in the space beyond the stars. It might be difficult to find them.
Unless we had something like what is it called again? Telescope. Why does that keep factoring back into everything?
Stefan tells you that the telescope could only ever reach the Great Book. It couldn't go into materia, unfortunately.
Well, the Great Book is metaphorical anyway, so.
Yes, but it couldn't reach the homes of the gods in the materia. Like it's not That's not what it was made for, but it might be possible. It would take a lot of experimentation and research with materials we don't really have here.
Somebody's got to be doing that kind of research. So I can't be the only person who wants to meet him. So somebody's got to know somebody who's also interested and is trying to work towards that goal.
In this setting, yes, there's a lot of people who are trying to do this. It's just you're enemies with one of those organizations, and the other one is not going to be in this campaign. Yeah. Let me think. Are there occurrences? Are there known occurrences of them popping up? Yeah, there's. No, that's not very well known. Oh, there's one thing you could do that's going to be what's her name? Joan says this. You could go to the best thing you can do is learn a verse of someone who met them. In the first millennium, they roamed the world freely while they were creating it in humans. So if you find the verses of someone who lived 11,000 years ago, you could speak with their with the with the gods as the archons and divas remembered them. But it wouldn't be the real deal. You'd just be able to talk with memories of them.
Okay.
I mean, you can still have a pretty good argument with a memory. I assume that's what you're asking for.
Oh, I wouldn't have an argument.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah.
Stefan's going to say your own personal. If you have questions about them, your archons and divas met them. Every single archon and every single diva was recruited by the Elohims during the first millennium. Want me to? All right. Can you bring the charger?
Yes.
All right. Thanks. So, what do you do? Joanne says, I know you had a whole entire operation thing going over at Hawaii. Are you going to try to set up something similar here, or you're going to retire from the whole rewriting operation? Seemed to be quite dangerous, if you ask me.
Prefer not to retire it. It just depends on how safely we can do it.
Alright.
There are some things we have to work out, like how do we know that they're not going to be in the next? We're not going to try to start blocking us or joining us in the memories.
That's could be worrisome. Luckily, Stefan might be able to find out more about the unit Oh, sorry. Stefan says I might be able to find out where they were located based on their memories in their memory palaces. We could track them down and take the fight to them.
That might be good before we continue our writing.
All right. Stefan's phone rings and he leaves the room. So
Get rid of your cell phone Stefan.
It's a new one, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a weird, very chemically smell starts to fill the air, and Joanne does not seem to notice until there's literally smoke into the room, and then she's like, "Oh shit, I forgot that," and yeah, she leaves, and she clearly has lost all of her sense of smell, and she had like something chemical burning in the bathtub.
Oh my god.
Oliver's gonna step out until this is all cleaned up.
All right. You can always
Phil's
use your
gonna follow.
Joanne comes back out and like she's literally coughing blood, and you can see she uses a little bit of karma to heal.
God.
It's okay, I've got karma. I can heal myself. It's fine. And like yeah, she does heal herself with karma.
This is not fine. You have a problem.
Holy shit!
Oh, no, seriously. I cleaned up before you arrived and made sure that the radiation levels were back to humanly stable. Like you all have karma. You'll be fine. And like to the side, there's Kawa and his daughter who do not have any karma.
We're
I'm
gonna
gesture for them to come out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit!
The both of them are going to be living in. They're going to like rent a shed in another part of town, and that's where they're going to live from here on for a while until you're not tracked by the Anubis. Yeah. Joanne says, anyways, I should be done with this batch. Any of you want some bath salts? No, I'm kidding. It's poison. I'm making poison.
Okay. Oliver doesn't know what to say to this.
Ooh. I think everybody just kind of awkwardly, and goes on their way. At least Philip does.
Joanne says, you know, like we talk a lot about experimenting as Neo Hermes, and some of us do some alchemical things, but chemicals, raw chemicals, some of which could kill normal humans, have some very, very interesting effects on people. I've tried some very interesting chemicals and overdosed on them on purpose, and only to have my Archon bring me back to consciousness. And I've had some very interesting experiences. I believe with the right chemicals, you could do more than just the works in whites and works in reds and works in blacks, but you just have to find the right combinations. I'm very innovative as a student of Stefan, but he took a lot of his chemical processes from his predecessors. I tried to experiment and innovate in my own creative way.
Yeah.
Definitely your own creative way.
Listen, the first person who came up with those alchemical compounds that made the works in whites and blacks, I believe the founder of the Hermes, I think he was called, what's his name? Orpheus. he must have been a very creative guy because he came up with these in ancient Greece, and they are and they are very impressive. We nobody's topped him alchemically since then.
And,
Are you planning to try and outdo him?
Yes.
Cool.
Why am I not surprised?
Also, Chris, just to answer the question that you asked previously, if you call your Archon and your Diva, they are immaterial. It does not say if they are visible only to people who can see karma, but the book would have said it if you needed to make a clairvoyance check to see them. So I believe they would be visible to everyone, and they would always appear looking like you, which means if you call them inside of a verse, they would be physical. They would appear like people dressed like you and looking like you, even though your body looks different. So yeah. But yeah.
So, and can I make them go away too?
Yes. Yeah, you can you can dismiss them.
And they have to go away.
Yeah.
All right. It's not just like you're dismissed and they can say, I don't want to go.
That is correct.
All right. But I have to have them both or neither. I can't have one without the other?
Yes, you have both of them manifest when you summon them.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, you were all sitting all in the garden with Joanne, and when he comes back, Stefan looks worried and he says, guys, we have a problem.
We have more than one right now, Stefan.
We have a new one. There's a new Hermes prison in the North Pole where they keep prisoners. It's harder to regenerate karma there. It was broken into on the same day that we escaped from Hawaii, and one of the Neo Hermes, one of the prisoners that the Neo Hermes had been keeping there for a long time, escaped. His name is Michael Weiss. He is he was a member of the original group of rewriters, and he's the only one who survived because he is the one who betrayed the original group, and he was broken out, and he might be coming to finish the job.
Or he might be being used to help them rewrite their own verses how they want.
Yes. But the new Hermes who had him captured seemed to they had him in the isolation the entire time in order to limit the possibilities of him being found, but it seems he was found and broken out of his prison cell. I'm gonna have to go and tell Allison because this is
Bad? I think the word you're looking for is bad.
He was her friend. He was my wife's friend, and they died because of him. I'll be back.
Why is he still alive?
He was captured a couple of years later by the Neo Hermes and put in prison. Never never revealed anything as far as I'm aware of. But we just put him in the hole for what he'd done.
Why would you keep him around?
That's well, it wasn't for me to say, but that's what the Neo Hermes who captured him decided to do.
How do you justify that? I mean, there had to have been an incessant string of inquiries as to why they would keep this guy alive if he was responsible for betraying and causing the deaths of all of his companions. And he clearly possesses verses and the ability to go back and change and alter stuff. So why you keep this guy around?
It would make sense if his to prevent his death, because if for example if his death could if his death would lead to writing verses that could be later explored and for even more clues. So it was basically a way to keep more information from falling into enemy hands. That's common practice for Neo Hermes who are trying to contain information for as long as possible.
So keeping him alive is the exact opposite of doing everything possible to make sure that information he possesses doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Because if you put an end to him and he can't tell anybody, or be escape or be broken out, only to then reveal the critical information you don't want known to other people.
Remember memory palaces. We thought Crimson was dealt with as well, but that was obviously
I knew he wasn't dealt with. I was very clear about that. At the moment I was found out, we were told that he's dead. I said, no, he's not. He's up to some sort of nasty shenanigans, and you need to fix that right now. Something weird is going on. And they didn't. And look what happened. I called that the moment I heard it.
And yeah, when he died mysteriously, it was a problem. So and he was able to reform in his memory palace, contact Hermes, and set them loose against you. That Stefan says the reason the reason we're all here is because the security protocol meant to keep Crimson alive failed. The same security protocol that was placed on Michael Weiss.
Which also failed.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm seeing the pattern. I don't know if you guys are seeing the pattern. I'm seeing the pattern.
The Neo Hermes are bad at prisons.
Oh, you're bad at making bad decisions on keeping dangerous people around. I mean, what's the goal here? Is this guy going to suddenly turn a good guy and start helping out? I mean, is that the idea, the thought, the hope? Was someone working on him to try and convert him over? Or was he...
As he said, like if he was killed and a verse was created around some events of his life he hadn't told the Hermes about, they could find out a lot of things. And there's another aspect to take into account. It's that when the verses are created, sometimes information that the person doesn't know about can be leaked, but if the Archon or the Diva are aware of information, because they can listen to things in the person's sleep or when the person's unconscious from wounds, and they can infer data that couldn't necessarily be inferred. So, like, the verses can be a source of more information for the enemy than the person alive. So keeping the person alive could very well have been more beneficial to keep the secrets of Neo Hermes. And it's also more an action of light than just murdering them. It's more in accordance with the Neo Hermes philosophy.
Oh, but you keep going back to this light and dark, but all of that is based on perspective. What's good, what's bad, it's all about individuals' take on things. Once upon a time, I felt that there was, ways that you were supposed to live your life because of the concern with, the ultimate judgment. But as it turns out, that's not actually correct, is it? There's just 12 disreputable cretins who created the world and screwed it all up, and now they've been banished by other people, so they can't even step foot here, but they're going to read the book in the sky that's the heavens. So, what's good and what's bad? I mean, it's that whole, if the cop didn't see it, I didn't do it. If there is no actual ultimate God in the end who's going to weigh judgment over your soul and judge whether you've done things that were good or bad based on his explanations of what would be good or wouldn't be bad. As it turns out, we've got the ultimate power in the universe is these 12 entities, right? Apparently they have no moral compass either, right? So good and bad really has suddenly become a very different thing. And really, ultimately, the only thing that's properly weighing on you now to determine whether what you do is good or bad has to be, it can only possibly be your own personal interpretation of your actions. That's the only thing that really can weigh upon what apparently would or wouldn't be your soul.
Yeah, I'm not very good at role playing Stefan in this aspect, but based on his previous role play, Stefan would probably go on a very long tangent about how the best way to determine what a good or bad action is based on reducing harm and stuff like this. But I'm not that good at playing Stefan's character. So yeah.
Okay, so this guy got out. Well, whatever. How does that?
He in the composition of the previous team, he had the spots that Eric Douglas had in the new rewriters group. He's the investigator. He might be able to find you.
Suppose we should find him first, then?
Right.
Ideally.
So if you're interested, if you have verses that can give you some information, Theo,
I was just thinking that.
I have not written I've written a bunch of oracles for the very beginning of the campaign, but since you didn't use them, I stopped writing them. But I could have. Thank you. I could have I could make one for this scenario either now or before the next game if you want to cast this verse. Otherwise, there's other ways like that you can investigate. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna cast it, and at the very least relate to my team. Like, one of the reasons I forget about it so often is because I'm super bad with cryptic shit. Like, I'm a really oblivious person, so I'm really bad at picking up cryptic things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Gonna write down that I've got to make up this verse somewhere.
So is this Hermes prison? Is it actually in the true Arctic, the North Pole?
It's the Neo Hermes prison. Yes, it's in the North Pole.
But actually on the Arctic, actually directly at the North Pole.
Not direct, not necessarily exactly at the North Pole, just far enough that it makes days and nights happen way less often.
So, like in Canada or Russia or something?
It's
Or actually
wait.
outside in international?
Okay. It's probably oh, you know what? I think Russia would be best. Like it's a good place to set up an illegal prison. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Theo's trying to do
Oh yeah.
stuff. Oliver will use I guess the intelligence services domain to try to find out some more information about where he could have gone from there.
Okay. How much is your how much is your network?
8.
8. Okay, so network 8. Okay. All right. You you put the word out, and it's going to take you a couple of days, but somebody's going to get back to you. A Russian weapons dealer called who calls himself Oslo is gonna say that near the location of the prison he had like one of the places where weapons of his are stored was broken into, and a couple of days after the breakout, and the somebody matching Michael Weiss's description was caught on camera stealing a lot of firearms.
I'll relay that to the group and whatever Philip learns from the Oracle. Well, I mean, Philip will relay that part, but I'll
Yeah.
add that to whatever Philip learns from the Oracle.
Okay. I think. Okay, yeah, the Oracle. So give me 1 second. I can take like 10 minutes and make a good Oracle, or we can wait next week. Are you? I think it's better if we like do that. If I do this like tonight after the game. Okay, Stefan comes back from meditating, and he says, Alison wants to speak with us. I believe if we all taught one of us I believe we could make a passageway so that we all have access to the same memory palace in somebody's mind. If we the way to make the connection is to have somebody teach another person how to create memories. We all know how to do this, but we can still teach it to each other. So we could all meet up in one of your memory palaces. Not mine, though. Then again, wait.
I mean, we would have to make one. Have we? Oh, wait, yeah, Chris. Chris made one, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, we could all go. So, who wants to be the host for this discussion?
I could.
Okay. All right. So basically, like everybody is going to take the time to like re-explain to you how to create a memory, even though you already know. You're going to make memories of these moments, and each of these memories is going to be an entry point for one of them into your into your memory palace. You all make your way there and find Alison waiting for you at the table, and she has brought with her 5 books. And it's the 5 books that you noticed when you first went to her memory palace. They are bleeding a dark substance all over your floor, Philip. And she says, these are my memories of Michael Weiss. All of my memories of him were damaged, except one. She pulls out a book and she says, "This was found with my Archon while my Archon and Diva were recreating my memory palace. That's how I know that she damaged those memories. I don't know why she did this, but that's why she's been locked up inside of my memory palace ever since. And it's the only memory that I have that has Michael Weiss in it." She puts it down. It's the memory that you trained in during your training montage. Chris and Oliver trained in there, and yeah. Alison says, because those memories were damaged, I don't remember as much as I should about him. But here, it's all here. I still don't know why Artemis destroyed them, destroyed those memories, but I think it might have been. It's possible it was resentment because of his betrayal.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm sure whatever reason Artemis had in the moment was of good intention.
I'm not. She's an Archon. I can't be trusted.
Never mind. I'm incorrect.
Yeah. So
I'm like, nah, have faith.
Yeah, you now know Artemis is the name of Alison's Archon.
Artemis and Apollo, that's so great. I love it.
Thank you. It makes sense also because like Archons go to the moon when they die, and Divas go to the sun. So yeah.
Oh my god, that's so good. My Hellenic polytheist loving ass is just drinking this up.
I hope like I try to put a lot of thought into my Archon and Divas names, but I know that's like Stefan also did. But Oliver, you just named your Archons and Divas like weird stuff, right?
Oliver did the exact same thing I did.
So
come up with a name. He Googled the names.
Yeah.
Oliver, you are valid. Oh my god.
So, anything we want to learn from Michael, we could do it inside of my memory. That's all we could know of him. That's all I can like transmit to you of him, but it's not easy going back to all of this, knowing what he did to my group. But he's the only one who could have done it. He's the only one who was still alive after everything was done and all of the rewriters were killed.
Well, those it won't hurt if everyone else wants to.
Might as well give it a shot.
All right. You enter the memory, and
before we enter the memory,
yes.
I was going to ask Chris, do you have any suggestions on how we want to do this? You seem to think locking ourselves in a room in the enemy fortress was a bad idea, so I'm mildly tempted to agree with you on that case. So, yeah, thoughts?
I might have an answer for this. Katie, how likely is it that in Texas that there's hurricane shelters in or bunkers in somebody's backyard?
No, you
No.
wouldn't build anything underneath the ground
Oh, okay.
because of the aquifers. It's very hard to get an underground permit. No one has basements or like shelters. More likely in like Oklahoma for like tornado shelters.
No,
or,
it
like,
has to be Texas.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
don't
like
have them underground, but we have
North
like
Texas
concrete
might have like
buildings and
tornado
stuff.
shelters
Sure.
because they're still
Yeah.
like in Tornado Alley,
Yeah.
like near Amarillo.
So I think Joanne has a tornado shelter that's going to be like the safest and most isolated place on her property, or you could just drive to, a more nowhere place than nowhere, Texas.
All right, Chris, anything to add to that?
Well, I just don't. I mean, we're going into this newly made memory palace to have a conversation.
No, you're basically going to go like in Allison's only surviving memory of Michael Weiss, and you're gonna be able to interact with him there. Well, with the version of him she remembers.
Basically, we're interrogating someone inside of someone else's memories, or their interpretation of someone inside their memories.
Since you were able to solve an entire case that hadn't been solved previously inside of a memory, you know that there's like a lot of information in those memories that they can be like extrapolated from existing data, basically.
So if the only thing that this memory is going to hold is what is already currently known by the person whose memory it is, why don't we just ask that person?
You can also ask me. It's not a subject that I like to go over, but seeing him is not something that I like to do either. So you can just ask me any questions.
All right, anyone have any questions?
Here's what I can tell you. Michael Weiss, he was the last one to join our team, and he was enthusiastic. He was he was a very he was a Hermes previously, but I believe Stefan's wife and I had correctly worked together to turn him to our side, and we thought that he had embraced the Neo-Hermes ideology. He was very curious about finding the truth. That was his core drive, and wanting to understand things. I believe he was going into he was going to I believed back then that he wanted to join our group just because he wanted to see history more than he wanted to rewrite it. That was confirmed when he had all of the rewriters killed.
All right, well, that's depressing. Although I suppose we did ask.
Yeah, it's good information.
Do you think it's worth questioning him, seeing how he acts? Or should we just start looking for him?
I mean, if we do question him, it's just going to be like the Memory Palace version. It's not going to be the actual him.
Yep. And it's a memory that's about 30 years old, so it might not be
entirely accurate
to who he is now, but.
And if it's based on her memories of him, then why would it have any more knowledge regarding him than
it's
already...
this. Allison says, you can learn a lot from a person by seeing them. Oliver uses a verse that changes his face every now and then, and I can still recognize him based on minute mannerisms that he has. It's things like this that can give an edge in an investigation. But Chris, nobody's going to make you go into the memory if you don't want to go there.
It isn't about whether I want to go or not. I would go if anyone could give me any reasonable explanation for how we would learn more by going there and talking to him, since that's not him. It's only your recollection of him. So yes. It can only have knowledge that you have of what he would know. So why don't we bypass all of the danger of becoming incapacitated and unaware of our surroundings by simply having you tell us everything that he's going to know? Because
as I said, for the minute mannerisms, it's not something that I can describe so well, and I don't know what else is there that's important about him, but there could be something that I don't think is important that will turn out to be, but it's that's all.
There is also the last thing of Archons and Divas might have picked up something about him when, say, Allison wasn't paying attention or asleep.
That's true.
And there's a very small chance that, or I guess a relatively small chance that that could come up, and that we could learn something Allison did not know. I don't know if it's a great chance, and I don't know. I mean, it is less risky. This is less risky than being in a verse, because we can leave anytime we want. We're not stuck here. So,
what if something happens to your body when you're in there? Are you going to be aware of that?
Nope.
Nope. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
So
I think
I'm seeing a massive flaw in the way that you've been going about doing this. What you really need to do is you need to get all of your resources on devising a method for your consciousness to be aware of what's going on with your unconscious body while you are delving into these kinds of things. I would think that would be paramount. I would think that would be something that you would have put every single resource into, considering how incredibly dangerous it is to do this.
Stefan says that I worked on the telescope for a really long time, and there's just too much of a separation, dimensional separation between the Great Book and the physical world. The Great Book is there's nothing there that could work as a transmitter to transmit data that could perceive data from your own body in the physical world. Unfortunately,
but there has to be, because There has to be some link between you and your body, or else why would you be able to go back to your body? Why would the damage to your body have an effect on you and strand you there or kill you there if there was no link? There
There's,
has to be a link.
it's possible that there's a verse that exists for this, or that we could make for this by rewriting. That could be an option.
There is, right now at least, an option of just having one person standing watch outside, and then they can pop into the memory and get us out.
Yeah.
Much quicker than other people can act outside of the verse. And for now, that could work as a way to get us out of the verse before.
Stefan is going to volunteer to do that, to get you out of anything that's happening to your bodies in the meantime.
Yeah, I'm not going in. I'm not
Okay.
going in. If you guys want to go in, go in. I'll pop in and tell you if anything's going down, if anything happens, or I should say when they show up. I'll let you know.
All right.
But it's just way too dangerous.
Okay. So Philip and Oliver, you make your way into the memory, and it's basically it's a sort of like fitness section of what looks to be a NASA base somewhere. To the side, so like on the one hand, you have Chris and Oliver trading to the sides, just like they had been when they first came into this verse to train. And on the other side, you have the group of rewriters that are working on preparing a mission. They're talking to each other. They don't seem to have noticed that you just appeared out of thin air and that there's two Olivers. So what do you do?
I wave at myself.
And you wave back at yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that should hopefully help confuse everyone that views this verse.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a verse, but
Or, sorry, not verse, this memory.
yeah. And Alison is going to have like headaches remembering this, but it's also another memory she likes to dwell in, so
Yeah.
it's fine. And yeah, you can see that like they all the four of them are talking to each other very enthusiastically. They're planning to rewrite. I think they would have started with Jason the Argonaut's verse or something like this. And yeah, Alison is talking about everything, all of her historical research. Stefan's wife is talking about like how she's done tweaking the how she thinks that like she's done tweaking the rocket. Her husband is developing a telescope to get them to the stars, but the rocket will work much better in her opinion. And Michael is saying that like he's double checked. There's no problem in security. And you also see, but it's been long enough that because it's 30 years ago, it looks exactly like Eric Douglas. It's his uncle. Like it looks, he looks like a clone basically of Eric Douglas. And yeah, he's also talking about the scientific aspect of it all and how to get into the verse and stuff like this. So yeah, they're all they're basically having a discussion to decide, a very enthusiastic one. So what do you do?
Do we want to interrupt that or just observe it?
I mean, for now we can observe a little bit, and then I guess probably be good to talk to Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you yeah. So you see them uh, uh, like talking for a while longer, and afterwards, I think it's uh, um, Stefan's wife is like towards the end of the conversation turns to Alison and asks her if and she says, I've used all of my light karma trying to find out as much trying to use my as many um, divinatory powers versus as I could to make sure we won't have any problem. It all looks safe. I want to double check one of them. Do you think you could? But I don't have any light karma. Could you activate your Scorpio breath so that I can use some darkness karma to activate it? And yeah, Alison agrees. She activates it, and you see Stefan's wife start to cast another verse, and she said, and at the same time, you see Apollo appearing right next to Alison for a few seconds and whispering something before disappearing. And then Stefan's wife says, "All right, it looks like it looks safe. I haven't detected any danger, so that means we should be good to go tomorrow, and we'll be fine." And yeah, you Oliver, you remember that this memory still has about an hour to go before it's the end of the memory, and you realize this is the eve of when they were all murdered.
Were we close enough to hear what Apollo whispered?
No.
And I guess we can't rewind a memory a couple minutes and get close enough to listen to it.
You could go back and do this. When you're going to do it, and like step close enough to Addison, their discussion is going to be a little bit different because they'll be wary of you. And when they do this, Apollo does not appear this time.
All right. Well, if they're going to notice me if I step closer, I'm just going to ask Allison what Apollo said to her.
Oh, Addison says that Apollo wasn't whispering something to her. He was just they just appeared, and she doesn't know exactly what Apollo was whispering, but they weren't in range for anybody to hear that. You can always ask Apollo.
Okay, yeah, I mean, next time I see Apollo, I'll ask him.
That's actually going to be a while because you don't have access to Addison's memory palace, but she could bring Apollo down here, down to one of your memory palaces if you want to talk to them. So after that, the group is going to start to split. You see Michael Weiss heading in one direction, the rest of the group heading in, like and everybody else is like gets back to their work basically.
Shall we follow Michael?
Okay.
Yeah.
He's heading to the men's bathroom.
Oh boy.
cool fist fighty action scene.
Just the awkward stand next to him at the urinal. No.
Yeah. And outside, Joanne is asking Chris, so what do you think they're doing in there?
Hard to tell. Hopefully they're getting some good information.
Okay, so Philip and Chris, you enter the bathroom. Michael Weiss is like finishing his thing and moving to wash his hands. What do you do?
Do we want to confront him or?
Have fun. Sorry.
How known do we want to make ourselves, Oliver?
I mean, if Allison doesn't come into this memory a lot, as known as we want, I think probably directly talking to him would be might not be helpful. It might be helpful. Probably good to do.
All right. Do we have any idea what we're going to talk to him about? Are we just going to question him?
I mean, yeah. I guess ask him if he's planning to betray the group in a matter of hours, or if he's already done it. We might learn something.
Fair.
Okay. Did you talk with someone about knowing what the secret new Hermes handshake was 30 years ago, or not?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. So, what do you do?
I guess we approach him, and Philip will just nod a greeting and say hello.
Hi. And like he goes back to washing his hands.
Mr. Weiss, we need to have a discussion.
Ooh, can it wait until we're outside of the men's bathroom?
I think it'd be best if we keep it here and keep it quiet.
After all, don't want the rest of your team knowing what's about to happen to them, do you?
Listen, I'm flattered, but my boat doesn't rock this way. I play for the other team.
Okay, so
Yes,
this has
that
come
is
across
what we are
awkwardly
implying.
incorrect.
As in, not a Neo Hermes, as in
What?
a Hermes.
Who are you people?
Better if you just answer questions.
No. And sorry, I think he'd say, "What if I don't?"
Well, that just makes things difficult, but as we've already said, we know what you're planning, who you are, what you are. I wouldn't go through with it if I were you.
I don't know what you're talking about. And you can see him. I think he's gonna try to move past you.
I'd like to empathy. That's like the tell if someone's lying or deceiving, right?
Someone is lying or deceiving. Yes. What do you? Yeah. Okay. Which moments in particular do you are you looking for?
Just whether he's telling the truth about knowing, like not knowing what we're talking about.
Okay. Roll for empathy.
I got 27.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nice.
No, he's lying. He knows what you're talking about. Well, uh, um, yeah, he is hiding something from you. But yeah, he said uh, yeah, he says listen, I uh, uh, I'm just a regular Hermes. I'm just working here, trying to get these astronauts to space. That's all. That's all that I'm doing. Nothing
Yeah.
more.
Philip, remember when we had our discussion with the jackal?
Ah, yes.
I gave him two choices. Do you remember what they are? Or
Philip would probably remember, but I don't.
all right, I basically told him he can talk, or we can kill him, and see if that gives me any of his memories.
See, we're just
Ooh,
here to.
that is a very good way to get data that you couldn't have gotten if you hadn't come in here.
I mean, I don't think that verse is going to work in here, but he doesn't know that, so. So, yes, Mr. Weiss, those are your choices. We know you're going to lead the Anubis to this operation tonight. It's your choice whether we find out how from you or from your blood.
He says, like you can see yeah, he you can see he tries at some point to like give a secret handshake which you don't recognize, and after that, and when you don't like respond, he uh, uh, he's gonna like try to wait. What was the last thing that you said, Oliver?
We know you're going to lead the Anubis to your team tonight. It's your choice whether we find out how from you or from your blood.
Okay. He's just going to like run straight towards the exit. Both of you have the weapons you brought you have on you in the physical world, so go ahead and roll for initiative.
Alrighty.
Reflexes, yes.
Ooh.
I'm counting on Philip for this.
Okay.
I can do intimidating, but I really can't back up that intimidating.
Right. He is going to be the first to act, and so he is going to attempt to run past both of you. You both get one attack of opportunity as he's making his way past you, which will and if you don't take any penalties, it will be the only action you can take this turn. And yeah. So Philip, do you want to attack him, and do you want to do more action than just attack him?
Can I just try and grapple him and silence him?
Yes. Roll for brawl, please.
Okay. Any penalties or just straight roll?
Unless if you use a prime and a penalty, it's a straight roll.
Let's. I got a pretty good brawl. Let's try it.
Okay. You catch him and you silence him. That's gonna be it for your turn. Stefan. Oh, you can see he immediately tries to call for help, but you've silenced him, so like he can't call out. Stefan, what do you do? Sorry, not Oliver.
Oliver will, I guess, draw his knife sword and walk up and just say, I suppose you're choosing by blood, and unfortunately for you, that means I'm going to have to kill you. I am merciful. I'll give you one last chance. Don't yell for help, and tell us what you know. And you can walk out of here and maybe save your team.
All right. You can see that he he stops screaming and he seems to like agree with his eyes. He tries to move his hand.
Check that.
Okay. Go ahead and roll for empathy.
Is that a negative something?
No. You're just at a regular empathy check.
All right. I don't know. I believe him.
Okay. Yeah. When Philip retrieves his hand, he immediately yells, "Allison, run!" And I believe you stab him before he is able to continue. Do you cast your verse to drink his blood and get his memories?
I mean, Oliver does not at all believe that is going to work here, and he's not going to try.
Okay.
That was entirely a bluff.
Okay. I would have
He's going to turn to Philip and be like, "Well, I guess we should try this again. You want to take the lead this time?"
All right. We can. You like the memory ends relatively soon after this, and Allison's going to apologize because the integrity of the memory is going to become weirder and weirder every time that you pop back in. So it might become less and less reliable as a source of information, but she hopes you've already gotten what you needed. It's 8 o'clock now, so I think we're going to stop it here for tonight. This was a very fun game. I'm looking forward to seeing where you are going to lead the adventure from here on out. I want the rest of the story to be more in your hands in terms of what steps you take to reach your different goals. If you want us to, from here on, most of the rewriting is optional-ish. It will get you a lot of benefits, but you don't have to rewrite anything else to complete all of the objectives in the campaign and stuff like this. So we'll see.
Hi everyone, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to keep up with all of the adventures on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so you can get a notification each time we upload the next episode of this story. And it would be very nice of you to like and share the video to help this channel grow. Have a nice day everyone.